Thank you. Call for day. The Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing is now called to order. Today is Tuesday, September 14, 2021. The time now is 1:32. Welcome to everyone connected by Zoom and those tuning in via television or the YouTube channel. Thank you for your patience and for accommodating the Zoom platform while we maintain social distancing mandates. Notice of this public hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets on Tuesday, September 7th. Will be changed one on Thursday, September 9, 2021. Then second notice was on Friday, September 10th, 2021. The agenda today, the following items will be heard in the order. Bill 172-36 LS, introduced by myself, co-sponsored by Senator Clynton Ridgell, Vice Speaker Tina Rose Muña Barnes, Senator Frank Blas, Senator Amanda Shelton, Senator Pedo Terlaje. An act to appropriate $3,500,000 from the revenues received pursuant to Chapter 42 of Title 11 Guam Code Annotated to the Guam Preservation Trust for the purpose of the revitalization and renovation of the historic former Fcu Sanchez Elementary School, property under the jurisdiction of the UMATAC Mayor's Office. Also, we'll be hearing Bill 171-36, introduced by Senator Frank Blas, co-sponsored by myself and Senator Tony Ada. An act to appropriate the sum of $250,000 from revenues received pursuant to 11 Guam Code Annotated, Chapter 42, available for fiscal year 2021 to the Valley of the LATTE LLC for the purpose of creating a cultural center that will provide a place where the CHAMORRO culture can be celebrated and the cultures of our region appreciated. And finally, it'll be Bill 170-36 LS, introduced also by Senator Frank Blas, co-sponsored by myself and Senator Tony Ada, an act to appropriate the sum of $250,000 from the revenue received pursuant to 11 Guam Code Annotated, Chapter 42, available for fiscal year 2021 to the Guam Unique Merchandise and Art GUMA for the purpose of providing assistance to the incubated business developed with their program. My colleagues and to the people of Guam, the general rules of conduct. The Zoom meeting is hosted by my staff and will mute all Zoom participants until called upon. Members of the committee and or non-committee members wishing to speak may indicate their desire to the in-app chat feature, but I understand that all my colleagues that are on this Zoom will be allowed to speak and ask questions. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized by me before speaking and begin by stating their name for record keeping purposes. But as we call everyone up to testify, just state your name for the record. All right, and then unmute yourself. Committee members will be allowed to pose questions to an individual testifying. Questions and testimonies shall be confined to the substance or nature of the agenda. Whichever the bill we're addressing, that's what we're going to be talking about, nothing else. Personal inference as to the character or the motive of any senator or any individual testifying is not permitted. Any violation of this general rule of conduct will result in removal from the public hearing. Please ensure that your video remains on throughout the hearing. Participants must be visible at all times and not engage in any activity during the hearing. If you're taking a drink or having a snack, I can understand that. Okay, failure to maintain visibility may cause your removal from the meeting live stream. I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues that have joined us this afternoon. We have Speaker Terlaje, we have Senator Frank Blas, Senator Tony Ada, we have Senator Terlaje. I don't see anyone else. I will now give the opening statement for the Bill 170. We will start with 172-36, and hopefully we'll be done with each one about an hour and a half at the most, hopefully. All right, on Bill 172-36 LS is an act to appropriate $3,500,000 from the revenues received pursuant to Chapter 42 of Title 11 Guam Code Annotated to the Guam Preservation Trust for the purpose of revitalization and renovation of the historic former Fcu Sanchez Elementary School property under the jurisdiction of UMATAC Mayor's Office. The Fcu Sanchez School is registered in the National and Local Register of Historic Places. This building was built in the early 50s and designed by world-renowned architect Richard Nutra and Robert Alexander. Opened first as the Magellan School and later UMATAC School. The stakeholders gave the building its final name, the namesake of Francisco Q. Sanchez, the school's first principal, a man who gained great importance in Guam as an educator. In 2011, the Department of Education voted to close, the Board of Education voted to close the doors on the children who attended the school, forcing the students to move to neighboring schools in Hagat or Meleso and placed on the jurisdiction of the Department of Parks and Recreation. My colleagues and to the people of Guam, I was on the board and I voted against the closure of Fcu Sanchez Elementary School. But you know, majority rules, they closed the school. A couple years later, in 2013, the school property was placed under the jurisdiction of the UMATAC mayor's office. For 10 years, the historic building has been left empty and unused. The environmental elements have caused significant damage to the building. Bill 172 will provide the Guam Historic Preservation Trust with the needed funding to ensure the restoration is performed toward providing the people of UMATAC with a home for their mayor's office, senior center, and possibly an immersion charter school. And if I'm correct, at one point, the mayor may testify on this, that we were looking at maybe we would have a museum or a gift that will be handled by GVB for when we do have events down in UMATAC. And I'd like to thank the co-sponsor support of Senator Clynton Ridgell, Senator Frank Blas Jr., Senator Amanda Shelton, Senator Pedo Terlaje, and Vice Speaker Tina Rose Muña Barnes for their support. I look forward to hearing the testimony in today's hearing and appreciate your participation. Tus Masi. We will now begin with, I believe, we'll start with the mayor first. All right, Mayor Bada, are you ready, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, you're up.
Affidavit, Chairman, San Agustin. On behalf of the community of UMATAC, I hereby submit this testimony in favor of Bill 172-36. And I would like to express appreciation and for you and members of this body, the 36th Guam Legislature, for recognizing the importance of this historic Fcu Sanchez Elementary School facility. The effort of fund this project, I would also like to acknowledge the Guam Preservation Trust for initiating the restoration process, initially investing about $400,000 to conduct preliminary plans for a shovel reef project. Our community of UMATAC have spent many meetings with the Guam Preservation Trust and their contractors to provide the architecture and engineer design that will reflect the true needs of our community in the facility. The committee expressed their desire to have their children return once again to a school that, with assistance from the education community, to possibly open as a charter school that will uniquely reflect our village heritage. Our community also wishes to be closer to our up and coming Manamkus elders by having a senior citizen center that will blend with our school. To instill village pride, attract our visitors, and sustain our operation, our community desire to provide space for a true village museum that will exhibit treasures from our residents with an enterprise gift shop. The desire of the community may sound ideal and perhaps far-reaching, but with the renovation of the Fcu Sanchez, this will only take us closer to our mission to provide for our community and revitalize the economic growth in our village of UMATAC. We understand the hard work of village meetings, coordination of resources, and implementing our plans, and we invite our Guam community to be a part of this awesome vision of village revitalization and pride. We look forward to the diligent work of the Guam Preservation Trust as they too will be part of the revitalization movement. Sujus Maasi, Mr. Chair, and members of this body, the 36th Guam Legislature. Thank you, and God bless you guys.
Thank you, Mayor. And now we'll have from the Guam Preservation Trust, Mr. Jose Canata, sir.
Buenas, Chairman San Agustin. On behalf of the Guam Preservation Trust Board of Directors and staff, I would like to commend you and your colleagues of the 36th Guam Legislature for rising to preserve an iconic structure in Guam's history. This building, the historic Fcu Sanchez School, tells a special story of our island community and is a very special place for the village residents of UMATAC. The historic Fcu Sanchez School was slated for closure 10 years ago following the recommendation of the 2009 Evergreen Report. This report stated that closing the school would save the Guam Department of Education $157,000 annually. However, the study did not take into consideration the costs needed to preserve and maintain an abandoned structure. Although the property was transferred to the municipality of UMATAC, the building was vandalized and electric wiring theft throughout the building left it completely unusable by the community. As a preservation organization that deals with historic structures, we understand that the best way for a structure to be preserved and maintained is to have it continuously used so as not to have it neglected and fall into decay. Now, 10 years later, we are here to discuss Bill 172-36 to appropriate $3.5 million to the Guam Preservation Trust to restore this structure as a means to correct 10 years of neglect to this most important building. If you go down there today, you will see a structure that looks like a post-apocalyptic event occurred there. Windows are cracked, floor tiles are disarray, tin roofing has rusted away and have collapsed. But if you look closer as well, you will find remnants of what the building was, an elementary school. You will see books left behind, torn maps still on the wall, and shelves still with the student's name written on them. This was a place of life, a place of joy, a place of learning, a place that people of UMATAC acknowledge as a village treasure with many stories, a place whose story in the overall story of Guam needs to be told. One such story is found in GPT's most recent project, Ekunguk e Historiata, written by Somali Kinata, an elementary school teacher with the Guam Department of Education. Somali spent her entire elementary school years at Fcu Sanchez School. In her story, she recalls how this was a place where all her family members were educated, a place where she could walk safely to school and see the flags dancing in the wind, a building located in the center of the village near the bay and near the edges of the mountainside, the site with the namesake of her great uncle, Francisco Kinata Sanchez, who was the school's first principal. In the end of her narrative, she asked all not to forget this place, which is special to her and to the other students educated there. But Chairman, why should our island care if this was just a building used by UMATAC residents and its students? Why should we as a community of Guam want to see this place preserved? To answer that in brief, it is because our island community found value in it in 1998, 23 years ago, when the Guam Historic Preservation Review Board, consisting of leaders representing architecture, archaeology, Chamorro culture, history, and planning community disciplines, and who were appointed by the governor and confirmed by this body, in working with the State Historic Preservation Office, had registered the Fcu Sanchez School in the National Register of Historic Places because the community of Guam deemed it worthy of preservation for its historical significance. As an organization, the Guam Preservation Trust works to preserve and protect all historic sites listed in the Guam National Register. Additionally, the historic Fcu Sanchez School was named after a very prominent Guam statesman, UMATAC resident, and a passionate and dedicated educator who understood the value of education for all residents of Guam and those in his village of UMATAC. If you pass through the streets of UMATAC, you can find the products of this work, such as the UMATAC Outdoor Library. Another reason why our community should find value in this place is because the building was designed by world-renowned and 20th century modernist architect Richard Neutra, who trained under the famous and renowned architect Frank Lloyd Wright, designed 3 other buildings in Guam, while the other 2, the government house and the former Adelup School, now the governor's office, have been significantly altered, losing its integrity. The historic Fcu Sanchez School currently is the only structure left that retains its original architectural integrity. Here in Guam, in all of the Mariana Islands, in all of Micronesia lies the only Richard Neutra designed building with integrity. This building has the capacity to teach future Guam architects about modernist architecture. And when it is restored, our island and visitors can learn all of these stories that are part of our cultural heritage. Because of this, Guam Preservation Trust included the restoration of this structure in our strategic plan, a plan that was completed by collaborating with community and preservation stakeholders. Likewise, Guam Preservation Trust, in collaboration with the American Institute of Architects, Marianas, developed with the UMATAC residents a revitalization plan, which places a priority in the restoration of the school building as an agent for economic revitalization to provide cultural, health, education, and economic opportunity, most especially for Guam Southern residents. In turn, this revitalization will also provide added benefits and opportunities for all our island residents and visitors to Guam. At the Guam Preservation Trust, we do not turn our backs on any historic site which our community has deemed significant to our cultural heritage. 10 years ago, we advocated for the continued use of the school. We also fought to keep historic Pagat Village safe and not part of the military build-up plans. 8 years ago, we collaborated with GITA to restore the Plaza de España and Meleso Bell Tower. 6 years ago, we granted families in Inalahan funds to restore their historic homes. Over the past 30 years, we have repaired historic bridges, schools, and many churches that we all can enter and continue to appreciate. Today, I'm proud to present this testimony in this historic hall, virtually, the Guam Congress Building, which we work together with your colleagues of the 33rd Guam Legislature to restore and reopen. After 27 years of quietness and absence, the legislative halls for our people and the actual site of the Guam Congress walkout, which occurred here 72 years ago. Like the story of this Guam Congress building, I wish the same for the historic Fcu Sanchez School. Let us work together again to reopen the historic Fcu Sanchez School building and get our kids, our manancos, our residents, our visitors to walk into again and enjoy a piece of Guam's history and learn about their heritage. It is in this regard that GPT sends our deepest appreciation to the members of this esteemed body for not turning your backs today on the historic Fcu Sanchez School building. And we strongly urge the passage of this bill. GPT has already completed all the necessary structural assessments and architecture and engineering design plans needed to get this project started. We also are grateful for the strong working relationship we have with the Mayor of UMATAC, and will ensure that the Mayor's input will be part of the guiding principles of this building restoration. What we need now is for this legislature to act and provide the necessary funding. Let's not wait another year, 10, or even 27 years more. And in closing, I want to share with you an excerpt of the former Fcu Sanchez School song that its students last sung there 10 years ago. And it goes, "There is a little village beside the sea where the palm trees sway and the grass is green. There's a school by the sea. There's a school just for me." Dear senators, let's listen to those words carefully. There's a historic building just waiting for all of us who call Guam home. It is right there, still beside the little village by the sea. It is just waiting for us to go back in there. So let's all work together, pass this bill, Bill 172-36, and let us all return to that special place for the former students of Fcu Sanchez, their families, our residents island-wide, all of us at GPT, and let us use this opportunity to restore the building to connect, appreciate, and preserve for its significance in our island's cultural heritage and all the possibilities it can offer in our island's economic revitalization. Suzus Masi.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kanata, thank you very much for your testimony. We will begin, I'd like to also recognize Senator Brown has joined us this afternoon. We'll begin with Madam Speaker. You'd be first to, you want to make any comments or ask any questions of the mayor or the Preservation Trust, Mr. Kanata.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mayor and Mr. Kanata from Guam Preservation Trust for your efforts in this regard. You're right that this is long overdue, I believe, and so I support the efforts. My only questions, Mr. Chair, would be for Department of Administration or DRT as to the funding sources. I looked at the fiscal note, and so I'm sure we will resolve those on our own. But as to the purposes outlined for this building for the people of UMATAC and the people of Guam, I support that wholeheartedly. Sidus Masi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Senator Frank Blas, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Kanata of the Preservation Trust, thank you for your testimonies. You're right. This is something that is 10 years overdue, and it should have never been in that state before. I am glad that we have now this opportunity to be able to revitalize that historic structure, that has so much meaning, not just for the people of UMATAC, but for the people of all of Guam. I think that there's everybody here on this island, knows at one point or another, that school, that facility existed, and we have to bring it back to its existence. This is important for our culture. This is important for our people, just as important as it is for the people of UMATAC. So I support this wholeheartedly. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for introducing this piece of legislation and for allowing me to be a co-sponsor to this as well. No other questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator Blas. Thank you for joining. Senator Ada, also a co-sponsor. Senator Ada, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'd just like to thank the mayor and Mr. Kanata from Preservation Trust for coming out to testify on this bill. Yeah, it's very disheartening when we see such structures going to dilapidation, and it's not one of those things that we just push to the side and not think anything of it. I mean, it's a structure that is just right there on the side of the road, and we pass it every day when we go down to UMATAC, down to Maritzo, and I think it's high time that we start making use of the facility once again. Hopefully, if not as a immersion type school, that you'll be able to use it as a senior center or the mayor's office. And I hope that we'll be able to get it going and get this project moving so that once again, that facility can be utilized by not just the people of UMATAC, but also UMATAC, but also, the people of Guam who go by there and would like to see the historic value of that structure. So thank you guys for your testimony, and I look forward for this bill to going to the session floor. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Ada. Senator Terlaje, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, and thank you for those who came to testify. It's always good to see you, Mayor Kanata. Always a pleasure, and of course, Joey. You're from that village, originally from that village, so I'm sure you have a great stake and of an importance to you to provide this type of funding for this the old elementary school. But in Public Law 32-11 authorizes the UMATAC Municipal Council to lease portions of the facility for profit or not-for-profit entities, which commit utilizing it for purposes outlined, including healthcare facility and education facilities. Has any of the approved charter schools or private schools or UOG, GCC, or other educational institutions expressed interest in utilizing the facility? This goes to you, Mayor, and of course, Joey, chime in if you want.
I can probably chime in. I've been working with the mayor and with the community, and also looking at how they also want to bring their children back to the school in a form of a charter school. I know that I've met with some folks not only from Guam but also from Hawaii to look at Heritage Charter School, the possibilities. I've looked at and worked with some folks to look at the basic needs of what the community wants to do with the building. The mayor's office that's going to be in there, the senior citizen center. So when you have all of these entities that are going in there, of course, it's going to sustain itself as they rent, the mandate of the municipal council to rent these spaces out is going to be placed there with either the charter school or with the senior citizen center that is planned to be part of that facility. But there was some talk about the charter school there. Other charter schools also have approached the mayor. I know that to see how feasible that was going to be, but at that time it was unusable. The school itself could not be used. There's no wiring. The wiring theft took everything out. It was just in decay. So it was very difficult for any charter school to come and utilize that area, for it is not usable. But yes, there's been some talks to look at charter school, to look at education down there, to bring back the children to back to Fcu Sanchez School.
So the intent then of this building is to house the mayor's office, to house the senior citizens, I guess, recreation room. And then the remaining rooms are to be like Public Law 32-11, which authorizes the council to actually rent out that area. So those other rooms would be basically rented out to those areas. So you intend to make some kind of funding in exchange for it, for profit to nonprofit, correct?
Right. Yes.
Okay. So Joey, I know that through the Guam Preservation Trust, there was a $50,000. Well, I only can go back as far as 2017, but there was $50,000 that was given to UMATAC Revitalization Plan. Did that include any of this money include for the facility itself to, kind of maintain it and keep it, avoid it from deteriorating even more?
Yeah. Well, the $50,000 really was to develop the revitalization plan for UMATAC. And that includes everything in UMATAC, and that included the school as part of that plan. But it was not, the plan was only to develop the plan as a tool to get the community together to decide how they want the village of UMATAC to look like in the next 20 years, in the next 25 years. And that that funding that was provided to develop that plan was just to develop the plan itself. It was a partnership with the American Institute of Architects. And that money was actually given to the American Institute of Architects. And in turn, those monies were used as scholarship for local architects to help them defray the educational costs. So not only that we did help the people of UMATAC to develop a plan that they called their own, a revitalization plan, but it also helped the American Institute of Architects to provide educational scholarship for our local architects here on Guam.
The funding was used for a revitalization plan for UMATAC.
Right, just to develop the plan.
To develop a plan. Has the plan been completed?
Yes, it's been completed for already 4 years. We've and the FQ Sanchez School is part of the plan. It's one of the priorities of the plan to revitalize, to restore.
I'd like to see that plan if you can, provide it to the chair, and then maybe the chair can share it with the other senators. So
Sure. And the plan is also in our website. You can have access to that plan on our website. We also, in our website, we also have the Inalahan revitalization plan that we've developed also.
Okay.
So
I'll look at that. Yeah, I'll go online. And that leads me to the question, and to Mayor, this is a question to you. Has you conducted a survey with the residents to determine what type of programs or businesses that should be developed at the former elementary school? Other than, of course, your office and senior citizens. Has there been a survey within the village?
Senator, yes, I've been speaking to the people of UMATAC, and the thing is, first of all, we want to get the building fixed, and then we're going to have a town meeting with the people of UMATAC, and they will be the one to decide with us what's the building going to be used for. Because right now we can't do nothing with the building. I mean, we just try to keep it clean as possible, and that's the only thing we can do yet. And what I want to do is fix the building first, and then we can have a meeting with the Preservation Trust and I to see what the people from UMATAC wants for this school up here. Even I, as a mayor, you know, I used to go to school up there at that time, and I'm really surprised that you know, Joe, the chairman, has been talking to me about this school, and I'm surprised that he came back again, and now I have all of you senators supporting this bill. I'm very happy about what's going on, and I want to thank you guys. So I can't make any decision right now until the building is prepared and ready to, you know.
Senator, I can answer that question, because when we were getting the architecture and engineering design work done, we've had several meetings with the residents of UMATAC, and yes, we did consult it with them. We've had when we did the revitalization plan, we conducted surveys as to if they wanted, you know, what did they want the school to, you know, what was their need. And the priority for the residents right now is to get their kids to go to school there. The other priority is to get their manunko to be there, to be closer to them. Because right now the manunko is, they're situated in either Maleso or Hagats. And then they also wanted their pride, the village museum, to be placed there. So if you go into, and we can send everybody a link, the Guam Preservation Trust has a website dedicated to just this project itself, FQ Sanchez School. And in that website, it has a historic structures report that was required before we get into the A&E design work. We have the assessments, structural assessment reports. We also have the architecture and engineering design that is in that website, as well as the layout plans for the use of the school. So a portion of that school is going to be used for a charter school. A portion of it is going to be used for a village museum, the mayor's office, the senior center, and a multi-purpose area.
So Joey, the 3.5 million, how was that determined? Is that including also the maintenance of the building for at least 1 year until you can generate revenue to maintain the building?
No, it does not. In fact, it is probably going to cost a lot more than 3.5 million. When we first met with Senator San Augustine to look at possibly funding the structure, at that time when we did the architecture and engineering design, the cost of that building to be rehabilitated was $2.1 million, actually $2.2 million. But that was back in 2014. And so we went ahead and did an educated estimated cost, looking at the consumer price index, looking at the inflation rates, and looking at the going rate for the architects on square footage, and also providing FF&E, which is furnishings for the school, furnishings, fixtures, and equipment for the school. And that estimated cost was 3.5. It came to 3.5 million. That does not include the maintenance of the. So if you're looking at the maintenance of the building, we are anticipating that because the mayor's office is going to be located there, of course, the mayor's budget will include the maintenance of the building. If the senior citizens is going to be located there, you're also looking at a portion of the funding from the senior citizen center to go to the maintenance of the building. Same as the charter school. The cost to run the charter school is also going to include the maintenance of that building. So all in all, if you're going to sustain that building just with the programs that the community wants to put in there, it's going to sustain itself.
Yeah, thank you for that, Joey. I really appreciate it. I'm sure my colleagues too want to really take a better grasp, because we don't have the plan in front of us. That would have been, really helpful if we saw that plan before we had the public hearing and ask questions on that. But I'm sure we know how to get a hold of you if we have any further questions moving forward. But, of course, anything in the South, I've always supported, being a girl from the South. And sometimes we're always the last people to get any kind of funding, when it comes to the South. So I'm glad that we're addressing this. I truly support the intent of this and the perspective of what you want to do with the building. I think there's a lot of great ideas. But the reality is the funding source is a very big concern. We just had budget hearing, and this money in the budget has all been accounted for already, for the hospital, for DOC, and then the remaining set to tax refunds. Plus there's tons of other bills, after this that actually uses this funding, which totals up to, according to the fiscal note, 58,971,882. So there's a lot of people going after this funding. I mean, I even have legislation that gives money to the University of Guam for scholarships and GCC to help our students. But I know that it's going to be a task moving forward, trying to get this through. And I'm hoping that with all those initiatives that you have explained to us under, education, maybe looking for grants under DOE, senior citizens, federal funding, under that perspective. And I know, Joey, you're a great person when it comes to finding funding through grants. You're a great grant writer, and this might help. I'm not saying I'm trying not to discourage you. I'm just trying to get into a reality check here, and definitely want to encourage you to continue this momentum and try to find some money in case this money is not available at all. Hopefully we can find another avenue. I mean, the governor has $600 million at her disposal. And if it comes to public health, like in the public law that was initiated in the 32nd Guam legislature, Public Law 32111, incorporated some healthcare facility and educational facility. And I know that money for the EPS was just initiated recently. There's funding there, 3.5 million. And I've seen some other nonprofits or even organizations receiving a lot of that money. And one of them completely talks about educational facilities. So hopefully there's still some money left over. There's an infrastructure, hopefully money coming in that direction. So I'm definitely not here to discourage you, but continue looking for additional funding just in case this doesn't fall through. So thank you so much, Mayor. It's always, again, a pleasure to meet with you, and thank you for continue doing a great job down there in UMATAC. Adios.
Thank you, Senator Tello. Senator Brown, do you have any comments or questions you would like to pose to the folks that testified?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I certainly appreciate the opportunity. I don't have any objection to the bill, Mr. Chair, to address refurbishment and rebuilding of FQ Sanchez Elementary School. I think we've known for many years the history, the unique history of this particular school. And also we know it's very much an investment in our southern community. So I definitely have absolutely no issue with that and addressing refurbishing the facility for the uses that have been outlined a little earlier in our hearing. But one thing I do want to ask, because the last time I was in the legislature, and it's been about 15 years, but the way we had set up the Preservation Trust was essentially for the trust to be able to receive a certain percentage of the fees that were paid for new building construction, very much with the intent of ensuring and prioritizing the refurbishment of our historical buildings. Of course, FQ Sanchez is one of those buildings. But I'm a little concerned about the fact that now the Preservation Trust, unfortunately, is having to come back before the legislature and having to address individual projects for funding. And I just wanted to ask Mr. Joe Kanata from the Preservation Trust if he can perhaps give me an update on what has transpired and changed. What is the status of his funding? Because I know previously the bigger challenge was getting Department of Administration to make sure those fees went into the account of historic preservation to be able to refurbish these facilities. And why are we going through this legislative process now of having to appropriate when before this is pretty much something that was left to the direction and discretion of the Preservation Board in prioritizing a number of projects and I think, Mr. Chair, we have seen the benefits of the revitalization, refurbishment, and construction of these historic facilities. Certainly the Guam legislature itself is a very shining, classic shining example of that. And why we have put the Preservation Trust at such a disadvantage of literally having to come back and ask the legislature for financial appropriation in something that previously was automatically in place and left to their discretion and their direction. So if I could ask Mr. Kanata that question, I'd like to know, I'm sure the public would like to know what has happened since that, or is this just additional money, and are you still receiving your funds that was originally intended from the permit fees at DPW?
Senator, that is a loaded question. I intend to answer that question, and it is unusual for us to come before this body to get appropriation, because we do have a revenue source. But unfortunately, several years ago, the same body had taken 50% of our funding source and have used it on their budget bill. So with that, it was very difficult for us to move ahead in providing the necessary mechanisms to preserve and protect what is significant to us here in Guam. This is really basically the first time we're coming before this body to ask for appropriation. But it is mandated in the law that we can do that we can actually get appropriated by the legislature. But in the history of at least when I was in there, that we had never come before the legislature for funding. It was always up to the board to decide on that funding, and that funding came directly from building permit fees. 100% of building permit fees went towards Guam Preservation Trust. And then several years ago, the same body had taken 50% of that funding fee. So now we only have enough funds to support programs and the operation of the Guam Preservation Trust. We have, again, did a lot of great diligence in getting grants so that we can be able to supplement a lot of the necessary programs that we need to do with the Guam Preservation Trust. But as far as capital improvement projects like the restoration of the Fcu Sanchez School, we have 3 other homes that are waiting in queue. We have a lot of other projects that we wish that we can work on, have to wait now so that we can be able to get the funding necessary to move on. But yes, it is because that we don't have that 50%. Normally, we would receive revenues of close to $1 million a year. And now we don't, we only get between $400,000 to $600,000 a year. And that just goes to support the operation and the programs that we maintain.
If I can ask, I mean, it's unfortunate if the legislature did this because, I mean, I think, Joe, we've very much seen the benefits to the community on the work that has been done by the Preservation Trust and really bringing back to life in many ways a lot of our historical sites that many of us, obviously from our generation, really otherwise would never have had the opportunity. So I just wanted to ask, where did 50% of that revenue go? I mean, especially, I mean, and I just want to ask also, I mean, I was not there at the time, but I know that you were very much, your Preservation Trust was involved in the restoration of our legislative buildings. So I'm really kind of finding this, disingenuous if you help the legislature after almost 30 plus years restore its own house, and then did the legislature go back in and take half of your revenue source that really is needed for actual refurbishment and construction of these historic projects? I just want to get a clear picture again, because again, I'm kind of looking at a window of a time warp here of how things were, which we felt were working very well. And now to find out that, you know, half of your revenue that's coming in to actually do the refurbishment work is no longer available to you. I mean, it's almost like we've cut all your limbs off and then expect you to still produce and be productive. I don't know how we're supposed to do that, but if you could respond, I'm just a bit curious about that information.
So, Senator, the 50% that was taken from the Guam Preservation Trust, 25% of that 50% went to the Guam Museum, I believe, to pay for the operation of the Guam Museum, the contract that was instituted at that time. And then the other 25% went to the Department of Public Works permit section. And then there was $100,000 that was taken again out that was earmarked for the SHPO's office. So that's $100,000 on top of the 50% revenues that was taken away. And so that would equate close to about $700,000 to $800,000, possibly a year, that we could have had to pay for a lot of these capital improvements on historic structures.
By any chance, I mean, was this something, was there a bill to do this that you were notified? Was the board notified to provide input with the extraction of a large amount of your operational funds?
It was included in the budget bill. So we did not have any public hearing on it. And yes, we were only notified just that same day that it was introduced into the budget bill.
If I can ask, what legislature was this?
I don't recall specifically the legislature, but I know it was about 6 or 7 years ago.
Oh, I think it'll be easy to, I bring all these questions up, Mr. Chairman, but I'm just a bit concerned. I mean, of course, the body can always go back in and change. I'd certainly be an advocate of that. I mean, I see they're extracted other funds for other purposes, but I think the way the funding was originally set up for the Preservation Trust to do important work, like what this bill is intending to do, that you sponsored to do the refurbishment of FQ Sanchez is important, and I will support it. But I do want to say the fact that we have literally set up the Preservation Trust not to succeed in its mission by extracting the funds that they actually need to go out and do the construction, do the repairs, do the refurbishment of these historical buildings. I mean, we've set them up for an agenda that we're really putting them in a difficult position to meet. If they've got to now come to the Guam legislature, which is almost a politicized process of asking for funds to do these type of restorations. So I do want to say that for the record. I think this is unfortunate that this has happened to the Preservation Trust, and certainly, you know, Joe, and I use your first name. I don't normally do that when people testify, but, you know, I've known and worked with you for many, many years, and I've seen the quality of work that you've done. I mean, the previous time I was here, we actually partnered with Historic Preservation to do some refurbishment at Fort Soledad when you had the Preservation Trust paid for the refurbishment of the cannons up at the facility. And we collectively put some sweat equity in doing some cleaning and maintenance of Fort Soledad and replacing at the time the gate that had been severely damaged at that location. So I've seen the quality of work that you guys do. And I know the sense of pride, the immense sense of pride when we see the projects completed. I think the Guam legislature is a very good example of that. And it's unfortunate that you've helped the legislature rebuild its home after all these years, and the legislature has taken your funding away to prevent you from working on other projects. So that's something I will keep in mind, Mr. Kanata. I will certainly, for the time I'm here, want to see how we can advocate back to get your finances back so that you can actually have the resources you need to do the important work that you do. Without having to come to the legislature for every single little project, and hopefully get support of what we have often said is a priority to maintain and revitalize our historic culture and the structures and the important parts of our history that I think are critical for future generations. So with that, thank you very much, Joe, for your testimony, and thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. But I appreciate the enlightenment, because I was a little concerned as to why we were appropriating funds to the Preservation Trust when this used to be something the Preservation Trust would be able to do on its own. Thank you.
Just
Yes. Yeah, and thank you, Senator Brown. Wow, that's very interesting, Mr. Kanata and Joe. We'll be talking to you very soon about that. We want to bring that back up and bring back, because not having to provide appropriate money to the Preservation Trust, and you are able to do what you need to do, because I know there's other projects out there that you and I have spoken about, trying to find a way to fund it. And if we just give you your funding yearly, then you'd be able to do what you need to do. All right. So with that, in closing, everyone has already answered questions. I'd like to thank you to my colleagues, and for those present today. Bill 172-36 will provide funding to the Guam Preservation Trust for the revitalization and renovation of FQ Sanchez Elementary School under the jurisdiction of the UMATAC Mayor's Office. We will continue to provide the people of Guam to revisit our island history through the FQ Sanchez Elementary School. Most importantly, the people of UMATAC will continue to have a safe place that represents the history of their village. Jesus Marcy, the committee will continue to receive testimony for the next few days and please submit it to Senator Joe S. Agustin at gmail.com. And I'd like to thank everyone for attending the public hearing and providing feedback and suggestion. This virtual public hearing for Bill 172-36 is now adjourned. The time now is 2:27. We will now proceed, and we'll give it a few minutes so we can allow the folks for Bill 171 that will be testifying to come on board. So we'll recess for about 5 minutes. All right, thank you. Dan, thank you. And half a day, the Committee on General Government Operation
Hello.
Appropriation. Hello? Are we good? Okay, we're good. Okay. The Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing is now called to order. Today is Tuesday, September 14, 2021. The time now is 2:35. Welcome to everyone connected by Zoom and those tuning in via television or the YouTube channel. Thank you for your patience and for accommodating this Zoom platform while we maintain social distancing mandates. Notice of this public hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets. On Tuesday, September 7th, 2021, will be change one on Thursday, September 9, 2021, and second notice on Friday, September 10, 2021. Agenda. Our next bill on the agenda is Bill 171-36 LS, introduced by Senator Frank Blas Jr., co-sponsored by myself, Senator Joe San Agustin, and Senator Tony Ada. An act to appropriate the sum of $250,000 from the revenues received pursuant to Title or Number 11, Guam Code Annotated, Chapter 42, available for fiscal year 2021 to the Valley of LATTE, LLC, for the purpose of creating a cultural center that will provide a place where the Chamorro culture can be celebrated and the culture of our region appreciated. General rules of conduct. The Zoom meeting is hosted by my staff and will mute all Zoom participants until called upon. Members of the committee and or non-committee members wishing to speak may indicate the desire to me through the in-app chat feature, but I know that all my colleagues that are joining here on this hearing will be allowed to ask questions. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized by me, and we'll just go down the order of, we have Mr. Dave Tadinko, then Zena, then Monica, and then Frank Cruz. All right? I just ask that when you begin your testimony, please state your name for the record, and then ensure that you're unmuted. Committee members will be allowed to pose a question to an individual testifying when they all completed all their testimony. Questions and testimony shall be confined to the substance or nature of the agenda. Personal inference as to the character or motive of any senator or any individual testifying is not permitted. Any violation of this general rule of conduct will result in removal from the public hearing room or public hearing by the host. Please ensure that your video remains on throughout the hearing. Participants must be visible at all times and not engage in any other activity during the hearing. But if you need to take a drink or eat a snack, not a problem. You shouldn't have any problem for that. And failure to maintain visibility may cause your removal from the meeting live stream. I'd like to ask Senator Frank Blas to provide an opening statement. Sir, Senator Blas.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my colleagues for being here today in this public hearing. I also want to thank those individuals that are also here to testify on the bill, whether it be for or against this bill. You know, Mr. Chair, thank you as well for you, along with my colleague, Senator Tony Ada, in co-sponsoring this piece of legislation. The Valley of LATTE, for those of you who don't know, is situated actually between the Talafofo and in the Talafofo River, between the villages of Talafofo and Inalahan. And it has become basically a cultural site that has provided, you know, not only a number of different events to our visitors, but to our island residents as well. And for many years, this attraction site has grown in its, I guess, the importance of this site in being able to perpetuate and help to enhance and to show off our culture and the cultures of our island neighbors in Micronesia. And what this bill basically would propose is to provide some funding so that you know, improvements can be made to this attraction, to this venue, so that you know, we can bring in more activities into this site, so that our visitors, as well as our own people, can learn more of the history of Guam, as can be told in this facility. I think that what I like to do is, that's just the introduction. I think that the value of this can be expressed even more by the people who are going to be testifying. And I'd like to yield the rest of my time to those individuals. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. And we'll begin our first testimony from, you see, Mr. David Tadinko, sir. I see you have folks around you. So Dave, you can go ahead and start. Unmute yourself and please state your name for the record and whoever you're with that you want to make sure they're included in the list. Go ahead and unmute.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. I would like to thank the committee for allowing us to testify today. I have our Valley family here, including the mayor of Talapofo, Mayor Vicente Taigui, and the mayor of Inalahan, Vicente Tony Chargala, who would also like to testify with us today. If I may, I have a formal testimony that I will submit to the committee, which is written, but I would like to read it for the record. Affiliate Chairman San Agustin, members of Mina 36 na Legislatura ng Bahan. My name is David Tadinko, President and CEO of Valley of the LATTE. Our families here at the Valley are humbled and honored to have the opportunity to be here today to support Bill 171-36, which we believe is vital to our community. Guam's authenticity is defined by our culture, our natural environment, and our history. For most that visit Guam, it would be easy to assume that our culture and history emerged from Polynesia and not Micronesia. As Chamorros, we stand with our brothers and sisters from the freely associated states as one Micronesia. A different identity, part of the blue continent that has been presented to our visitors and is losing recognition in our own community. A large and important part of the Pacific with rich cultures and traditions that will be lost unless it is nurtured. The Valley of the LATTE has emerged as the place chosen by the people of Guam to celebrate and share our culture, history, and the natural beauty of the island and our region with all that visit. There is a need locally and regionally to develop a place where residents and visitors can experience the Chamorro culture and learn of the cultures of the islands of Micronesia. A place to learn the values and customs of the people of the Blue Continent. A place where festivals such as Hahanin and Managov, which we held at the end of July, can help promote, preserve, and nurture what defines and makes us unique, what makes us special as a people of the Pacific. Bill 171-36 recognizes the need to find a permanent home for all cultural practitioners who share our vision, and particularly here in the historic Talapofo and Inalahan Valley. From the day we opened and rebranded Valley of the LATTE, para i-Provincia Itatauta, led by Senor Frank Rabon, Zina Ruiz, and Vincent Nicholas, have been an integral part of our fabric. It was through PIPIT that Ulitao, the seafaring organization, found a place to call home here in the Valley. The partnership with PIPIT continues to this day, and they will be a guiding force to assure we fulfill our mission in creating our cultural center. The mayors of Inalahan and Talapofo have been with us every step of the way since we rebranded in 2016 and continue to provide support for our efforts. The mayors and members of their communities will also serve as stewards in assuring we make our villages proud. The Valley of the LATTE, through the festivals and special events that it has hosted, has become a home for local craftspeople and cultural practitioners. The animal caregiver from Talapofo has found a home at the Valley to display his art and to pass on the knowledge needed to keep the art alive for generations to come. Our cultural practitioners who are part of the Valley family share their weaving and cooking skills and craft through the workshops we host. Our local family from Inalahan provides an authentic Chamorro feast for all our visitors that choose to spend time with us. These are private enterprises that have invested to create an experience that is unique. Our request to the legislature is to provide the means to nurture the seeds that have been planted to create a sustainable place to congregate, teach, and present what makes Micronesia a place to be treasured. COVID-19 has severely impacted the Valley's ability to support these organizations through revenues that would normally be garnered through foreign visitors. Although supportive, the local population simply is not able to sustain the creation of the cultural center. We humbly request the funding identified in the bill to provide the seed capital to accomplish 4 things. Number 1, to install vitally needed infrastructure to make the Valley safe for visitors to enjoy and to repair our LATTE and expand the areas for cultural practices. Number 2, to develop a master plan for the center that will be driven by those that manage, perform, and present at the Valley. That plan will provide the foundation to solicit private investment from people in Guam and the region to build, preserve, and maintain an authentic and expanded Micronesia Cultural Center. Number 3, provide the local match for additional grant funding that will be pursued from the Economic Development Administration, HUD, USDA, and other agencies and privately funded organizations to support the expansion of the center and to enhance the experience. And number 4, establish an agricultural cooperative to utilize the 23 acres of farmland that has been improved by the Valley of the LATTE to provide continuous production of local fruits and vegetables. We are now in partnership with local farmers from Talafofo and Inalahan, working with them to plant fruits and vegetables that will be marketed through the Valley. We believe that the depiction of our culture and those of our Micronesian brothers and sisters will remind our people that our evolution as a society came from the ground. We sailed the Pacific, we grew our own food, we wove our own roofs, and we healed our people with the medicinal plants that we nurtured and harvested. The agricultural component of our cultural center provides context for our values and our priorities as a community. The Valley will also pursue the establishment of an educational platform in partnership with PIPIT and other FAS organizations that will restore the teaching of Ilengwahi, teaching traditional seafaring and fishing techniques for younger members of our community and those interested in learning how Chamorros and our other Micronesians fish for one of the main sources of protein in their diets. Our objective is to provide a well-rounded understanding of the connection of our cultures to the land and the sea, and how those values are realized today in the spirit of Inafamaule, our belief in hard work, respect for the environment, and reverence for our elders and ancestors. The center is needed now before it is too late. What has been developed is threatened by the uncertainty of our current situation. We humbly ask that Laturan Guahan join the effort and provide the spark to nurture the continuance of what we believe will be a means of preserving Iningekta, Ilengwahi, Zani Kuturata for generations to come. Sizus Masi, Zen Sizus, and Benedici Hamzotoro. May I ask, turn it over to the mayors for their testimony?
Okay. Afadai, greetings from Blas country. For the record, my name is Vicente Aitegui, Maya Talfofo. The residents of Talfofo and the Talfofo Municipal Planning Council support the intent of Bill 171-36 and act to appropriate the sum of $250,000 for the purpose of creating a cultural center that will provide a place where the Chamorro culture can be celebrated and the culture of our regions be appreciated. I extend heartfelt thank you to the sponsors for recognizing the need to expand tourism to the southern part of Guam. Status quo is not good enough to compete for tourism dollars. Valley of the LATTE has to expand its service to include cultural center. This investment will complement what the organization currently providing. Our government is working hard on promoting tourism and making island a safe destination. I foresee tourism will bounce back to its pre-pandemic, and we have a lot of time to prepare for the influx. I encourage Minister Science and Guam 2021 to pass Bill number 171-36, and I'm confident that this administration will support the passing of Bill 171-36. This is Masi.
Buenas. My name is Anthony Charlov, the mayor of Inalahan. The historic village is known. I am in support of Bill 171-36, which in fact appropriates money to be given to the Valley of the LATTE to erect and create a cultural center. I envision this cultural center as a place that not only as Chamorros that we showcase our culture and tradition, but our neighboring islands as well. I almost see this as an exact replica of what's going on in Hawaii with the Polynesian Cultural Center, where they're able to showcase different cultures from the Polynesian area. Of course, with this, not only am I supporting this because I love the fact that they perpetuate our culture. They want to showcase that to the entire world and our tourism market. But more importantly, I believe that this center can be a learning place for our young generations to understand, despite the losses that are going on with regards to our culture, this place intends to maintain that, resurrect it, and prolong it for the rest of the generations to come. Therefore, with that being said, I want to say that the whole entire village of Inalahan does in fact support this. I thank the Valley of the LATTE because it also becomes an employment place for our people of Inalahan and also the neighboring village as well. I have seen the employees that work here. They're very committed, very loyal, and understand what this cultural center can bring. So they stand ready, we stand ready, and I'm hopeful that everyone in the 36th Guam legislature will be in support of this. I also thank you, Chairman Joseph Agustin, Senator Frank Blas, and Tony Ada Therese, the Speaker Therese, Senator Jan Brown, and Senator Terlaje for joining us here today. I am very hopeful that with your presence here today, you're able to share the kind of sentiments that we have down here in wanting to make sure that this culture center becomes a reality, and I am almost 100% sure it will be very vibrant. And as Mayor Taidegui mentioned, this will become the tourism destination. Like all of us who have traveled the world, we don't want to do what everybody else does. We want to know what the locals do. This is a perfect example of showcasing just that. Thank you very much, and we look forward to your support. Sedus Masi.
Thank you, Mr. Tadinku and Mayor Taidegui and Mayor Charglove. Thank you for your testimony. Now we'll have Ms. Zena Ruiz. I hope I didn't murder your last name, ma'am. Zena. Just unmute right now and go for it. Thank you.
Malika. For the record, my name is Zena Nicholas Ruiz, and I represent Para y Probeta Nitotata, and I am the executive director. Hafade. Guahu si Zena Nicholas Ruiz, who representa dan maneja programa dan Compañía Para y Probeta Nitotata Inc. Ita tomami para benaduda dan soporti imantautauta ni pomasatba mana famta hudung dan protehi i lenguaje dan cultura Chamorro. Esti dota. Different English, no? Para Probeta Nitotata, PIPIT, is a non-profit cultural organization whose mission is to support members and organizations who promote, perpetuate, and preserve Chamorro language and culture. PIPIT works directly with Iman Fatfatnagwin Bailan Chamorro, the Tribal Council, and Iman Magas Guma Siha, all are leaders of cultural dance houses, and we call them Igima Siha. On Guam, there are 11 Guma. Each Guma ranges 30 plus in its membership and includes extended family members. Within these Guma, Chamorro language and Chamorro traditions are practiced. Chamorro culture lives. It is important that as PIPIT supports its members, several factors are taken into consideration. 1, a safe place. 2, staging and technical support if there's any. And 3, making a connection. Making a connection includes connecting environmentally, educationally, and of course, culturally. This pandemic has forced many people, many nations to reevaluate their sense of place and to be responsible caretakers of its resources. Many of our natural resources and our environment have been altered to be of convenience and pleasure. Many times, cultural practitioners have had to adjust in order to accommodate the audience while they express their love of their culture. This past July, Pippit was able to participate in Ha'anin Menagos, an event hosted by Valley of the LATTE. Cultural practitioners, producers, and performers were invited to come and just be. We came with our love of culture, and we left with a sense of pride and belonging, all of us. Our Micronesian region was represented and engaged in cultural protocol, traditional protocol, Guaha inafamalik dan respetu. On behalf of Para Iprobetsa ni Tautauta, Iman Fafatnaut Gwin Bailan Samoro Danigima Siha, I am here to provide testimony for Bill 171-36. Its purpose, to create a cultural center that will provide a place where the Chamorro culture can be celebrated and the cultures of our region appreciated. I testify that Valley of the LATTE provides a home for cultural practitioners, where there is transference of traditional knowledge in an open air classroom. I testify that Valley holds in high regard value of the cultural producers and cultural performers. I testify that Valley of the LATTE enriches Guam's quality of life. It connects the land and its people. It's a place that needs to be supported and is worthy of $250,000. Sana maasi. Guahu si Zenas Nicholas Ruiz. Tauto Pepe.
Thank you very much, Zena. Ms. Monica Guzman, ma'am, you're up.
Buenos and half a day, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to testify this bill. As a board member of Pippit, I stand behind everything that Zena has said earlier. And I just want to talk about two things. On July 31st, when Valley of the LATTE had the Ha'anin Menagos, it was very refreshing to be down at a cultural center where there was a gathering of all the people of Guam. Not only were our local residents there, but we had visitors from off island, and we had the opening of the Micronesian village at that day. And you know, not only is that Valley of the LATTE a Chamorro cultural center, but it's also a culture of inclusion. And it was very see the different houses and the different huts from our Micronesian villages, Micronesian neighbors. Many years ago, when in the early 90s, my first involvement with the Guam Visitors Bureau, when Dr. Judy Flores, who is present with us today, was the chairman of the Cultural Heritage Committee. She really pushed back then the inclusion of the southern portion of Guam as a tourism destination. She saw back then how important it was to have tourism outside of Tumon. And what the Valley of the LATTE has done is provided a venue as the gateway to the southern portion of our island, to our visitors to examine and experience the culture of Guam, the beauty of Guam, and the uniqueness of our culture. And so with her vision way back then, with the hard work and support of the family at the Valley of the LATTE, with Dave Tydinkel and all of the mayors, we're seeing that vision way back when come alive. So I just want to thank the Senator Frank Blas, Senator Tony Ada, Senator Joseph Agustin, Speaker Terlaje, Senator Tydinkel, and Senator Brown for being here today. And we hope that I testify in support of this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Monica. And we have Mr. Frank Cruz, sir. You're up, sir. If you unmute, sir, appreciate it. There you go. You're on.
Hey, thank you for allowing me to put in a little testimony. I don't represent any cultural group, or I just represent myself as a Chamorro. I still consider Talafofo my home village. And I just wanted to testify on behalf of Bill 171-31. Now, since COVID, I've visited the Valley of the Latte 3 times in less than, it's been 18 months. The first time I took my managers down there, most of the people up north don't go as far as Gionia to see what's around the island. So I had a paid day for all of them to follow me, and Dave and the staff. We reserved the whole day, and we were limited by how many people we can bring. And he opened up the valley and for my managers and staff, and they had a wonderful time. And not only did we learn more about our culture, and some of the folks have come back since. I brought my family back there again, just us, the second time. And then the last time I brought my aunt who was visiting from the States when Dave had a big event down there, and she had a wonderful time. We need Valley of the Latte. We need a cultural center like this. We need to showcase our culture. I see Zena on here. She was there the last time I was there. Actually, she was there 2 or 3 times I was there, entertaining, and I always enjoy catching up with her. And I'm so proud of her and what she does for Pipit, and how she, just continues to grow Chamorro culture. So I just wanted to testify on behalf of Valley of the Latte and myself, and I wish more. I'm thankful for you senators for coming up and finding funds to help support them. We cannot have these guys shut down due to COVID. If they shut down, it'll be very difficult to start back up again. We need to keep them and support them through this until tourism returns. There are all these businesses have, I'm a business owner, and I know we all have assistance in trying to stay open and keep our employees employed. And Valley of the Latte doesn't have that. They don't have a restaurant revitalization fund. They don't have certain funds that they can reach out to keep supporting their employees. And we need their employees to stay working, to show the culture, to express what Guam is about. It's all about our people. So I'm fully in favor of this, and any more money that you can help with, not just Valley, but anybody that's really trying to push our culture, because Guam needs this. Our tourism will return, and when we do, we just need to make sure that Valley of the Latte and others like this will still be here to welcome them in open arms. All right, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Cruz. I'd like to also, I would ask Senator Frank if he wants to begin any questions, or he'd like to save for the end, right before his closing. That's up to you, Senator Frank. You're on, and then after you. Go ahead.
Actually, I think that at the Valley, there's somebody that I would like to be able to testify, Mr. Chair, so I go ahead and yield to that.
All right, let's see. All right, Dave, go ahead and unmute there, Dave, so we can get the young man next to you there to speak. I think he's the young man I'm referring to, the one with the Carabao friend. Yeah. All right.
Hoy hapat day. Ang isang nga si hoy sa hapat day hoy tanutiti siya itaw na haji hit. Pues wow siya si John Raymond na patiogan. Gayo gini pago na pagos testigo por estina lai estina judo pwede pumasibli za ajuda itaw-taw-taw. Medya siya na taw-taw-sanitong ta ajuda. Luti medya na taw-taw-taw ta ajuda za esti na bill 171-36 para u ajuda itaw-taw-taw. Wahu gini kung sa todo gini na manggali naman presentasyon, wahu gini trongku dumangkulon estiu na tanu antes de me presentos maybe tanu tatawa este ni gagi oficina tender mami di Surfside Cafe 1972 si sa suci ko isa malopan gini na salan este gi doko iPad na sodok este doko iPhone kasi dari Terlaje dari lega jangan para tepat na yan patasangan hoy dan hapa de inisita para bahas sa tateta hapa sa tateta ikuturata dari lingwahi jadi ini na manggayam gini ini ya saya setianes latihan saudara si de gini kantunsalan gayu mana keke namo de karabau ki Surfside Wapapa si Parks and Recs, $900 a year, gripa bufata ikuturata. Dengan malah zon, za bonayo kampu gini alum, za edun atapata. Kimi negahit nai, hagasa mon, waha dota cultural center. Lokada waha para CHAMORRO, mahonyo. Uno na, por ejemplo, LATTE stone gini nas de Punto Rico, gobernota. Ini kada guaha para tapata kuturata ni guahita ni tatotano mahonyo. Por favor, samo honyo sa didi sinizaha ingagagon na lai. Bigay na gasto ko, isipti honors, kinitodo yun ingagago pa agun, yun na light, na view. So hapa, ang ma-interview do, papaisuno hapa na siya muna masaya malilingo do sa lapi, sa ikuturata, sa kuntitasobe malingo, mapunas, dataza, de culturata incita el lenguaje de la cultura pues identifica haji ang mo sushi like na Japan ang mo kimchi like mo Korea lang yung mo te teachers padang pues gining CHAMORRO no Marianas pues baja na culturata diferentes clases Megay, lignia, estigit pabufate kultura. Gagi, Guam Museum, Ridgell ti la, ikeketwa, ang marma biyon lili trotu. E bastorane du, uligi effectus bastorane du. Lugini, entelu dos okso, ini ki masasangan bali, entelu dos okso. Baha gini, sagwan, sang CHAMORRO original todo di LATTE gihalon gaya ju ani dumagdang kulo tati ke 60 anos original itu na manggagi bi ai tipago na masuli za mapega para kumapata la espiritu ni tautomo na gri baha siya gini mas manlalala gua siya bedbu la estigi na lugar kung waha di simida ni ingagagaw kita madu pinajuda za intanong por waha para takusetsa za dangkulo na sa Diyos masi gini ni pamilya gini ay ti waha gini ti sidepa gini to di manggagi gini tau esti za hapa macobi za hapa mapata gini ni tanu gini ni tasi, gini ni Ivy, ti gini ni litroptu. Za inagadesi, ikonsiderasyon mizu, pinasisti sa esti COVID, pwede amon grasya, di grasya isa nata, sa ti makat, sa isa nata, no kontra, lo atumua, na ikontra niya na para na posible muna na tanasinya mo alegra that agradeci. Da kung testi COVID mas mon senior no patatsobilo ingagago ando ni esti na por na konsiderasyon na adjudo para itaw-taw-tawno sa bula adjudo para itaw-taw sa ngitong. Kunayang do ang komparasyon medyon pumagosta pumates itaw-taw sa ngitong ni podigong itano. Hami kwatwa gay edji medyon ang gagago pabing tonom dabing protehi ikultura i-airi sa itano CHAMORRO para tapatan ni mamamamayla sa Guam si Dave ni Mayor gini ki at mamanam gini na tempo lo hafa pusangan idoko neta neto ipamagunia idoko great grand kids pumasangan hafa si tatambiyo bidana na anamapuna si Cotarata. Tangkulo na si Jesus Mahasi ni nain ni estina oportunidad estigo permanente, tataduzuti yang ko da pwede wala mali mo na linala para imamamala na tempo. Sana Mahasi, si Jules Mahasi, viva CHAMORRO, viva Tano, viva Dalia Pinati, viva.
Thank you, Mr. Huggan. Senator Blas, you are now up. You have any questions you would like to pose to the folks that have testified, or you might give comments, or you would like to save them till you do your closing?
Reserve it to my closing. I'll reserve it to my closing, Mr. Chair.
All right, and I'll ask now the other co-sponsor, Senator Ada, if you'd like to give any comments, and then you'll be followed by the speaker.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just like to thank all those who came to testify today in support of this legislation. You know, it's one of these things that we need to continue to do in protecting our heritage and our culture down south. And I think giving them the opportunity to have that leg up would do great amount of things for our southern villages. And I hope that we'll be able to get this bill onto our next session and be able to vote on it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, Speaker Terlaje, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Sidus Wasi to all of those representatives from the Valley of the LATTE and from Pipit, and especially the two mayors, Sidus Wasi, for your testimony today. And wanted to just ask a couple questions, if that's all right. One is, I agree with the uses that you have planned, and you know, relatively it's not that much money, and I'm hoping that you will have success with your plans from this small amount of money. And so I support that, especially as a local match for HUD grant funding. And relative to funding, I'm wondering, so if you were able to receive any of the GITA grants, for example, for the COVID, they had some pandemic related grants or other COVID related grants.
Okay, we'll leave that question open to, I'm looking for a wave of hands so that maybe Dave. There you go, Dave.
We, as Valley of the LATTE, all the programs that were made available well, some of the programs made available at GITA, we were able to take advantage of the grant. We were also fortunate to apply for PPP and get that. The challenge, there was a rental program that GITA put out, but they said we didn't qualify, so we didn't get that. And we also were not qualified either for the Restaurant Revitalization Fund or this Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. Although we do operate a cultural center and we tried to justify it, because we do not have light rigging or stages or I guess people that they call dancers. Our people here are performers. They basically denied our grant application. And so when you add it all up, the stuff that was the grants that we were able to get from between PPP, between PPP, as well as the GITA grant, probably provided about 4 months, 4.5, 5 months of operational income. We had been shuttered since March 2020. We actually reopened officially January of this year to our local and military markets, but that really hasn't been adequate to sustain our fixed costs and stuff. But we continue. We work with some nonprofit organizations, particularly like with the FSM community, and that's what allowed us to get some grants to build the Micronesia village that is by the animal sanctuary now. But that again, that came partly through GITA, but that only funded like 20% of the total cost, and we had to come up with the rest of the funds. So there have been some grants that were made made available to everybody, but we qualified only for the PPP as well as the GITA grant program. The GITA also supported us with what they call a team loan that was able to allow us to invest in some of our infrastructure. So we fixed our parking lot, we bought new engines, and basically that's it. Allowed us to continue operating for a bit. So those are the programs that we did qualify for.
I appreciate that, Mr. Tidinko, especially all your efforts during this time to utilize the programs that were available. So I very much appreciate that and all your work in that regard. I know you've been working very hard on many levels to ensure that the people, I love your program down there. I prefer that program over many of the other programs that we've got going on in Tumon right now. So I always advocate, people to go there to show culture of Guam, especially visitors. I like, all the employers that you've hired, we've seen them over the years, so they've stayed on, right? And even the vendors. So I very much appreciate your support of the local economy, the local vendors, the local artists, the local, and even those from the South, especially. I've seen a lot of that too. So I want to thank all of you for that. And it's also a great place, I think, for students to go. And I was just wondering if you could consider, and I'm not going to make it as a requirement or anything, but continue to consider, which I'm sure you have in the past, allowing field trips, So the field trips, unfortunately, they're having a hard time because busing fare is so expensive. So to get anywhere, it's an impediment. But once they get there, yeah, I know they like to go to your place.
Madam Speaker, we have a special program just for the school students, which is about actually less than 40% of what our local rate is. And then we also work with our partner, Turtle Tours, that provides busing relatively inexpensive. It's almost like $5 or $7 per student to come round trip from where they're at. It's really important for us to really work with all the schools, because when they come here, they get to learn truly who we are. And we beam with pride when these kids leave and go home and tell their parents where they came from. We had a really successful summer camp, which we called Ketunu y Kultura and CHAMORRO. And we had people that joined us, and the parents just continue to give us accolades for the kids who came back every day to tell them the new things they learned about Guam that they never knew about. And so, our entire family here who represent all of Micronesia. We got people from Yap and Ponape and Chuk, as well as Chamorros and Filipinos. We even have a guy who was born in Whittier, California, but his dad was the one that established the river cruise 32 years ago. And he's actually Ponapean by marriage. I was going to say another word, and his family is Ponapean. And so really it's exciting for me as an individual to be given an opportunity to work with all these folks who've been with us many years. And I'm just hoping I can keep the family together here, because what we share, you can read it in TripAdvisor and in Facebook and Google about the experiences people leave with. And it's not about the beautiful river or the nice trees or the LATTE, but it's their interaction with the people that teach them the history and the culture and make it fun for them. So we really thank you for the opportunity to allow us to do this.
I very much agree with that assessment, and I agree very much. So I support this I have questions again, Mr. Chair, just regarding, the funding sources, according to the fiscal notes, there are just some questions with those that we can take up with the Department of Admin, Department of Revenue and Taxation. But to all of you. Take care.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Senator Terlaje, ma'am, do you have any questions for the folks that have testified?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity. Buenos, Dave, and everyone who's there. My primo, Ben, and John. Buenos and half a day. Thank you too. Also, I'd like to acknowledge the mayor from Inalahan as well that was there earlier to testify. And since we're talking about the fiscal note, Mr. Chair, the fiscal note that we received in our packet was actually talking about the Guam unique merchandise. If you look at your fiscal note, it did not talk about the funding for this particular legislation, but yet the fiscal note says it's for Bill 17136. So we might need an updated version of the fiscal note, since it was talking about a totally different bill. I think it was talking about Bill 170 and not this one. So just to bring it to your attention. I too support, the intent of what this legislation is going to do and bring an awareness, a cultural center. I've many times been to one in Hawaii and seen the educational perspective of it, which is excellent. And, just hearing the speaker talk about field trips, this is a great opportunity. However, there have been people coming up to me regarding this legislation with regards that the LATTE is a LLC. It's a private company for profit, and that the government of Guam is, giving funding that should be going, it's taxpayer money where this money is coming from, the EITC. But have you ever received any funding from the government of Guam before for the LATTE Freedom Day? I think you're on mute. It's on mute right now.
As we mentioned earlier, we did through Speaker Terlaje, we have received funding from GITA for the pandemic relief. And realistically, what we were looking at, if the legislature was able to pass this law, we were looking to work through the Mayor's Council, the mayors of Inalahan and Talafofo, along with Para Ipobitsu Italtalta as the advisory group, if you will, on how we can properly expend the funds. But we have received direct funding grants from the government, yes.
Is there any property that you occupy right now in the Valley of LATTE that belongs to government of Guam?
No.
Okay.
The river is the only thing that is the government is access, but everything is private here.
We had a public hearing on a bill prior to this one regarding the Sanchez Elementary School in UMATAC. And the concern we had is we didn't have a plan in front of us trying to tell us where this funding is going to go to. Do you have a plan of any sort other than, we're building a culture, step by step, how you're going to proceed using this 250, since it is public funds?
We will be glad to present that to the committee.
So you have nothing at this point?
Actually, so you have to, when the bill was introduced, our group got together and we took a look at it. We know how these funds can be expended. We alluded to the 4 points in my testimony, including repairing some of the infrastructure here to make sure that it is safe and accessible. The second thing was developing the master plan. The third item that we identified was using as matching funds for other grants that we can qualify for. And then the fourth item was basically to be used in our agricultural co-op that we've established here with the 23 acres of farmland that we have.
Okay.
And if you want specific numbers for each of these programs, we can provide that for you.
I think it's, something that's important that we're all going to need. I mean, here, this is very unusual that the government of Guam provide funding to a private company, an LLC, for-profit company. I mean, it's not like it hasn't been done in the past, way past, but right now to do something like this, I think it's important, Dave, that you provide us with every incentive or every inch of what you're going to do, the plan on this funding, and what in return is this 250 going to provide for the community? Are you going to provide free field trips to school children, or provide certain things that would well, basically justify us giving you the 250,000? I know it's a small amount, but still, we're in right now. It might be raining 600 million on the governor's side, but it's not getting to our people who are really needing it at this point, those who don't have a job. And so I think it's really important to have that kind of plan. I mean, I totally support everything you're doing down there, especially a lot of my relatives work at your facility, and appreciate how you're trying so hard to maintain this this business and stay afloat, that provides, for our economy. But as well, we are responsible for the people's money, and we have to be accountable to them. Some people might not agree giving this funding to a profit organization, and it might open the door for every other company that makes profit to provide this funding. So the justification is so important at this point. And then also the reality, Dave, on this funding, where it's coming from. There are other bills that total way beyond the 55 million that the earned income tax reimbursement is coming forward. I mean, some of these bills come up to 50, if you add them all up, it's like 58 million plus. So I don't want to discourage you at all, and hope that maybe there are other options through GITA, or even through the mayor's council that you brought about the two mayors and their ability to seek grant funding through HUD. That's a great opportunity, to go through them. I know there might be some matching funds, but the mayors, I'm sure they're willing to help in this endeavor. So I'm looking forward to that plan. Dave, before anything moves forward, I mean, we have to be accountable for the people's money. So I thank you again, and thank you to everyone who testified. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Tello. Senator Joanne Brown, do you have any comments or questions you'd like to pose to the folks that have testified?
Thank you very much. I mean, I certainly appreciate and support the desire of what's intended by this bill, but I do have to share some of the concerns that was raised by Senator Tello with regards to accounting of public funds. I don't doubt the mission that has been laid out and the work that has been laid out with the Valley of the LATTE, and the work certainly I had the opportunity to work with Mr. Tydinko a number of years ago. So, and just knowing him and his agenda and what he wants to do, I certainly support all that. But because we are dealing with public funds, I just think this bill needs to be expanded a bit further to outline exactly what the intent of the funds are being used for, and also what is the process of accountability or auditability of the public funding that's being provided. I mean, we do provide funding to a number of nonprofit organizations on an annual basis that, support different interests within the community that we think are important. So I don't argue at all. I think the agenda of what's being laid out is a very good one, and one that we would like to see expanded in our community. But at the same time, because this is public funds being given to a for-profit company, I think we need to have at least a clear outline of exactly what the intended use of the funds are and how we can verify that funds are used for that purpose. And that should be standard for anyone, whether we know them or not. I think we need to have a sense of accountability with regards to public funds and how they're going to be expended. Very much support the mission. It's been many years since I've been down to this portion of Talafofo, and I've certainly not seen in recent years all the work that's been invested in the expansion of the Valley of the LATTE project. But again, I just wanted to ask, maybe Mr. Tydinko can elaborate, and I think I would recommend for this bill that more specifics be placed into this bill with regards to how these funds and what's the public benefit to be gained to be gained by this so that we can actually account for how we're using public funds. If I could ask Mr. Tydinko that question, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Senator Brown, I agree with you. I have no problem with that. I would love to work with the committee to specifically outline the intended uses as well as the public benefit as a result of it. So again, glad to work with the committee to make that happen. Glad to work with your office to make it happen.
No, and I appreciate that. I mean, I think it's important that we do that because certainly any company now, as Senator Tello mentioned, could come forth and be expecting the same, benefit. Why don't you appropriate money to my company? And again, our responsibility is also to ensure, that tax dollars are being appropriately spent. And right now we are in challenging times, and I know you know that as more than many, especially being involved directly in the tourism industry. I know you guys are making every effort to keep things afloat in spite of what we're going through and expanding with our local community and our military community to come down and experience Valley of the LATTE. But again, I think just to ensure that sense of public accountability and how the funds are going to be spent so that when we do see this bill on the floor of the legislature, we're well aware of what the intended funds are to be used for and how they're accountable and what's the direct public benefit that's going to be gained by this investment. So I think doing that will at least guarantee a lot more success of the bill rather than, disagreement and controversy on the floor of what otherwise could be a very good thing. So I just think the bill needs to be strengthened with that additional language so that there's a greater sense, as I mentioned, of public accountability of public funds. So with that, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tydinko, and certainly thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to ask questions and comment on this bill.
Yes, and thank you, Senator Brown. Senator Frank, the author of the bill, sir.
Now, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my colleagues and to the people that that testified in this thing, and my colleagues who have expressed some concern with regards to the utilization of public money for private purposes. Yeah, you're right. First off, this is not a unique circumstance. This has happened before, and yes, I agree that we can work towards making sure that there are those measures necessary so that we can first off measure the value of what is providing. I'm very confident, which is why I authored this bill. I'm very confident that this funding will be utilized not just to improve a facility, but to improve an image, to improve our ability to be able to continue to provide a center that showcases our culture, showcases who we are, showcases the people of Guam, showcases more specifically, the people of the Southern Village. If you're looking at the people that are represented, that sat there before us to testify, you had the mayor of Talofofo, you had the mayor of Inaran, you had Mr. John Ogun. Okay, in the background over there, and you got Mr. Andy Fairfood, who's been around for the longest times. You have the people of Guam. You had Ms. Ruiz, in representation of the cultural groups that were there. You had people who want to be able to help perpetuate and to our culture, wanted to showcase who we are, wanted to provide employment, wanted to provide a place to be able to learn, a place to be able to experience. And a lot of times what has happened before, and this gives us this opportunity with this legislation, is government has gotten in the way a lot of times of being able to provide that, okay? Whether it be in the way of regulations or whatnot. And granted, we can put together that language that is necessary to ensure that every penny of this, first off, is accounted for, but then also that every penny has value to it in this. And we're just talking, and yes, we're just talking $250,000. It could have been more, but it's just the seed, as Mr. Ogun has said. This is just the seed to start. How it grows, okay, is dependent upon the communities that not only work there, but live there. And this is our opportunity as a government to be able to provide that seed money so that we can do it. We do it a lot with other GITA loans and grants in the form of GITA. They don't go to the legislature for that. They go through GITA. It's the same process. But I can see, and as far as necessary to be able to put those measures in place so that we can measure the value. We can there is accountability. I'm sure that there's nobody that's going to go against that. I sure is not going to go against it. And we can help to build that. And Mr. Chair, I look to you and to work with you and the committee and Mr. Terinco, as well as the other members, other people who find the value in this thing, to be able to build a bill so that it does become, it is something that we can provide, not just to the Valley of the LATTE LLC, but to the people of Guam, the people of Inaan, the people of Talafofo, the people of Guam, and people of Micronesia. So with that, Mr. Chair, I want to thank you very much for allowing this testimony, us to have this testimony. I look forward to being able to work with you and the committee to be able to provide that language, to be able to satisfy some of the concerns, and then to put it on the floor for consideration by the body. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Blas, and thank you for the folks that have testified today on Bill 171. There being no additional individuals to present further testimony on this bill, the committee will continue to receive testimony for the next few days for the acceptance of any additional information or public testimony on the agenda on this Bill 171. You may submit testimony to the mailroom of the Guam Legislature, the Guam Congress Building, or through email at senatorjoesaugustine@gmail.com. I'd like to thank everybody for being here, and that the virtual public hearing for Bill 171-36 is now adjourned. The time now is 3:36. Si Zeus Masi, stay safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, and practice social distancing. We'll take a 5-minute recess while we get ready for the next bill, bill number 170-36 LS. Thank you. Thank you. Half a day. The Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing is now called to order. Today is Tuesday, December 14th, 2021. The time now is 3:44. Welcome to everyone connected by Zoom and those tuning in via television or the YouTube channel. Thank you for your patience and for accommodating this Zoom platform while we maintain social distancing mandates. Notes of this public hearings were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets on Tuesday, December 7, 2021, with a change 1 on Thursday, December 9, 2021, and second notice on Friday, September 10, 2021. The agenda today, or this afternoon now, is on Bill 170-36 LS, introduced by Senator Frank Blas Jr., co-sponsored by myself, Senator San Agustin, and Senator Anthony Ada. An act to appropriate the sum of $250,000 from the revenues received pursuant to Title 11, correction to 11 Guam Code Annotated, Chapter 42, available for fiscal year 2021 to the Guam Unique Merchandise and Art, which is GUMA, for the purpose of providing assistance to incubated businesses developed with their program. I'd like to recognize my colleagues that are here today. We have the author of the bill, co-sponsored Senator Blas, and co-sponsored by Senator Tonada. We have Speaker Terlaje. We have Senator Terlaje. I know I saw we had Senator Brown. I'm assuming she's still here. Okay, and we also have some folks here that will be testifying. We will begin with Monica Guzman. We have Clifford Guzman, but he'll probably be only testifying if need be to answer certain questions that he would be able to provide the appropriate answer. We have Sarah Butcher, Lorraine Okada. We have Cora Beato and Josephine Smith. And with that, the rules of engagement for this hearing would be the Zoom meeting is hosted by my staff and will mute all Zoom participants until called upon. Members of the committee and or non-committee members wishing to speak may indicate their desire to meet through the in-app chat feature. But all my colleagues will be allowed to ask questions and the individuals that have testified. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized. I've recognized everyone already. When called to speak, please ensure that you are unmuted. Committee members will be allowed to pose questions to an individual testifying. Questions and testimonies shall be confined to the substance or nature of the agenda. Personal inference as to the character or the motive of any senator or any individual testifying is not permitted. Any violation of the general rule of conduct will result in removal from the public hearing room. Please ensure that your video remains on throughout the hearing. Participants must be visible at all times and not engage in any other activity during the hearing. If you need to take a drink or have a snack while we're going through the hearing, that's not a problem there. But failure to maintain visibility may cause your removal from the meeting live stream. I'd like to ask Senator Blas to please give his opening statement to his bill, 170-36. Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you again, once again, to my colleagues for continuing to be here today. To again the co-sponsors of this legislation before us now, to Senator Joseph Agustin and Senator Tony Ana. But before I go on with my presentation with regard to the bill, one just observation, Mr. Chair, and I want to commend you and I want to thank you for that. If we notice that all three of the bills that we were talking about or that we have deliberation on today, we're discussing on ways to be able to continue to, if anything, perpetuate our culture and perpetuate who we are. And that the discussion is basically on the best use of being able to do just that, as well as to be able to provide, a way to be able to grow and to build our economy in many ways. And so I wanted to commend you for that. I want to thank you for that as well. Now on to the bill. Mr. Chair, what this bill basically provides is, again, seed money or the opportunity for the Guam Unique Merchandise and Art Program, GUMA, to be able to expand its incubator program to up and coming businesses that are within their program that they have. We're probably going to hear today in testimony from individuals who've been a part and who's taken a part of this GUMA program process. I've been very excited about this because this helps to address a certain need that we have in as far as growing our economy. Is growing our economy, within the business we have. We have a lot of talented people on this island with a lot of great ideas. What they just need is that the ability, that hand up, not hand out, that hand up, to be able to move their products on to the next level, their businesses on to the next level. These are people who see the value, first off, has got the talent, have the drive, see the value in being able to start up a business. And you've got an organization who's willing to be there for them, to help them so that they can move along the way. They've got a lot of success stories that I will permit, I will not go into. I'll let Monica or Cliff or one of the others that are going to testify to be able to speak to those things as well. I want to thank you for the opportunity to have this public hearing so that we can hear the testimony. I think this is one of the ways, in as far as in a government being able to provide a resource so that our community can move on and can grow. So with that, Mr. Chair, I want to thank you very much, and I will yield the rest of what I can say until the end, and I would like to hear the testimony from those here. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Blas. And we'll begin with Ms. Monica Guzman. Ma'am.
Afide and buenas to the members of the 36th Guam Legislature, to Speaker Therese Terlaje, Senator Tello Tidegui, Senator Joanne Brown, Chairman San Agustin, Senator Frank Blas, and Senator Tony Atta, who introduced Bill 170-36. My name is Monica Guzman, Executive Director of Guam Unique Merchandise and Art, GUMA. I am here to testify in support of 36 and to thank the members of the 36th Guam Legislature for recognizing the value of our local and their importance and social well-being of our. The GUMA mission is to be the premier catalyst and facilitating Guam entrepreneurship. Our partnership with the Small Center at the University of Guam, we developed a customized 16-week training program from which we have graduated 223. These participants are provided with the tools to start their own businesses and to navigate the world of licensing, merchandising, marketing, and the plethora of skills necessary to be successful at it. We also created an incubator program for entrepreneurship, and we are proud to have incubated 30 new startups and expanded businesses with over $548,000 in subgrants awarded to these entrepreneurs. Pre-COVID, there were 87 new jobs created and approximately 1.7 million in gross revenues realized by our incubators. Each of these incubator participants had a dream and the passion to make that dream become a reality. Next month, GUMA will be celebrating 8 years of helping entrepreneurs realize their dreams. Since our beginnings in 2013, and with the generous support of DFS Guam Limited, we have successfully pursued and have been awarded local grants to accomplish our mission. We pursue funding to sustain our program, and we thank the Guam Legislature for being by our side every step of the way. GUMA has forged partnerships with national organizations such as the International Business Innovation Association, the INBA. In 2015, we received the INBIA Entrepreneurship Center Management Certificate, and just this past August, I was certified as a mentor program manager by the INBIA. On the local level, we have built alliances with the Guam Green Growth Initiative to include open makerspace at Chamorro Village. We work closely with GITA, the Guam Visitors Bureau, CAHA, and the Department of Chamorro Affairs. Most recently, GUMA was awarded a grant from the Administration for Native Americans in 2020 to develop a program to create community commerce by nurturing home-based businesses within Guam's 19 villages. The need clearly shown by the 416 surveys completed by those who are interested in developing their own home-based businesses. The grant provides for a condensed entrepreneurship training program, creation of a village resource directory, and organizing trade commerce within each village. Working closely with the Mayor's Council of Guam, we will pilot the project in Dededo in the next couple months with full mobilization 22. If awarded this appropriations, funds will be used to provide direct assistance to our incubators and home-based entrepreneurs. Now more than ever, and in the face of so many lost jobs due to the pandemic, our people need all the support we can collectively provide them. Our goal is to be a pillar of hope and success for our entrepreneurship community in Guam, and quoting directly from the bill, quote, create and lasting grassroots businesses that will help promote economic expansion and diversity in Guam, end quote. On behalf of the 223 GUMA graduates, our 30 startups, our next round of 22 potential incubators, and the 416 individuals who dream to start their own home-based businesses, we deeply appreciate the support of this body and stand in full support of Bill 170-36. Thank you very much, and si Julis Maasi.
Thank you, Monica. I appreciate it. Now we'll have Ms. Sarah Butcher. I hope I didn't butcher your last name, ma'ams, but you're up. Or is it Butcher?
It's Boucher. Hi, half a day. My name is Sarah Boucher, and I'm the owner of Studio 13 North in Chamorro Village. I am a proud 2019 graduate of the GUMA program and a grant recipient. I am in full support of this bill. I have seen the change that it's made for me as a person, as a business owner. I can't express the appreciation that I have for this program. I think that here in Guam, a lot of people don't have that education. They can't afford to go and take college classes at UOG. And this program is for that person that's crafty and wants to start a business, doesn't know how, have started a business, but need to know more information. It reaches out to them. I was already a business owner for 3 years, and there were still things I didn't know about being a business owner. I feel that this program is vital for local makers here in Guam. It's an outlet for them to learn, bounce ideas off others. These people have dreams like me, and they need an extra hand, an extra foot, an extra push to help get themselves started and up and running. I think as an island, we need to support local more. Local businesses are starting to thrive more, especially during this pandemic. People are out of work and starting crafting, and there's new businesses I see constantly popping up, and I'm so excited for that. I was just recently at an art fair on Naval Base Guam, and there's 10 businesses there I've never heard of before. I went up to each of them and congratulated them on starting up and putting themselves up there. And I actually talked to them about GUMA and how it really made an impact on me and how they should, contact them and get involved. And it's such a great program, Monica, and you just created something spectacular. I feel like for myself as a business, just with being a 2019 graduate and getting my grant, during the beginning of the pandemic, it was crazy how I thought maybe that this pandemic would hurt my business. But with the tools that I was given from GUMA, the knowledge and the support, and what I did with the grant money, I was actually able to expand my business in 2020 and went from 200 square feet to 400 square feet. I'm offering services now that I didn't offer before. and I'm getting more business than I've ever seen. So I'm so grateful for this opportunity to have Guma on my side. I'm happy that I get to work with some of the other incubators, and we've been doing some cool things and coordinating different things with them as well, other artists. I just want everyone to know that it's a program that anybody can join, whether you don't know yet exactly what you want to do as a business or you've been in business. They're going to help you every step of the way, create a business plan and just make things like a smooth road ahead of you. I'm not saying that everybody will have that same experience. There might be bumps, but for many people that I know that I graduated with this program with, they've done tremendous, even through the pandemic. And I feel like Guma is vital for this island, especially with so many entrepreneurs popping up. I really hope that they keep going. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah Boucher. I hope that was correct. But you're a great promoter. Thank you very much for your testimony. Now we'll have Ms. Lorraine Okada. Hey, Lorraine, how you doing? You're up.
Hafades and buenas. Buenas and Hafade, Chairman Joseph Agustin, Speaker Therese Terlaje, Senator Frank Blas Jr., Senator Tony Ada, Senator Taylor Tidegui, and Senator Joanne Brown, and members of the 36th Guam Legislature. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you today. My name is Lorraine Okada, President of Okada Managing Consulting Services, residing in Barrigada. Thank you for the opportunity and your committee for writing this bill and the support that you're going to be giving this bill. As an HR consultant, I provide assistance to businesses in the areas of labor and employment issues, workplace investigations, HR audits, recruitment and hiring, benefits and compensation, and very important training and development of our people. One of the many roles that I work on is to assist entrepreneurs in the planning and formation of their small business startups, from what kind of business structure they need to start out with, the licensing, business planning, forecasting, marketing, financial planning, and the networking and resources involved. I've been involved in providing services in this area for the last 10 years. Guma is amongst one of them. Guma's objective is to prepare artists, cultural producers, and entrepreneurs to bring their passion and their talent into a successful and sustainable business. Guma has been the catalyst in providing the training, incubator funding, and support to our local small business startups, giving them an opportunity to turn their talent and their dream into reality, and that reality actually puts some pocket change into their pockets. The program has proved to be very successful. Over 200 participants have graduated in the entrepreneur training program and has funded 30 incubators who are now thriving in their businesses, as you heard from Sarah, and you will hear shortly from Cora. And if other incubators have the time, I'm sure they'll kind of say the same thing. Guma has also recently embarked in a village home business program and looking forward to seeing that come to reality shortly. Let me share with you, Guma's creation 10 years ago came about by a care and a concern that Monica Guzman has had for several years. As an artist herself, and her involvement in CAHA and other cultural and art activities, she has come to realize that artists and cultural producers have beautiful pieces of artwork, are very talented, and have the passion for what they do, but they couldn't sustain themselves. She realized that the work of art, crafts, and cultural production, it was a feast and famine journey for our people. As a successful businesswoman, she realized that they really just didn't know how to get started. And like Sarah mentioned, they don't necessarily have had the opportunity for good education, a business education, to just fulfill their dreams. So as a successful businesswoman, Monica realized they didn't know how to price their products. They didn't know how to package their products. They didn't know how to market it. They didn't know how to build inventory. They just couldn't get the product moving. So she decided to embark in this Guam Unique Merchandise and Art, decided to embark and have a dual program. One, to put these people through an 16-week training course, and then to provide them the seed money to get started. This is not just any training program. This is a program that has been customized to meet the needs of this group who don't have business lingo, but they have the Chamorro lingo, the local lingo. They have the culture. They have their ability to combine all these interesting arts and talents. And so this training program is actually geared for individuals like this. Along with her husband, Clifford, who is a business strategist, they embarked on the solicitation of donations from businesses, and we're fortunate enough that DFS jumped the bandwagon and provided the seed money to get this program going. The success of the program can be attributed to these two individuals who recognized the need and decided to provide a platform for the success of these entrepreneurs. This program provides opportunities, financial opportunities, employment opportunities, cultural preservation and promotion opportunities, and it also creates a microeconomic activity for our people on our island. Many of the Guma incubators have been successful in selling to our local community, our tourists, our military families, and not just here, but they've also been successful in selling their products to the Tautosan Lagu, Tautosan Hadza, Tautosan Lutsan, and Tautosan Katan from all areas of the world where all our Chamorros exist and live and thrive for that cultural piece. I commend Senator Frank Blas, Senator Tony Ada, and you, Senator Joseph Agustin, for sponsoring this bill. And I thank the members of this body for recognizing the need to give our people a more solid footing to get them started. Because Guma program has proven that we can give, when we give our people the opportunity and the support, they will succeed. And so I urge all of you to support this bill, because not only do our people need it, they deserve it.
Thank you, Lorraine. And we'll have now Ms. Cora Yanger Beato. Hi, Cora, you're up.
Afade, Mr. Chairman, Madam Speaker Terlaje, bill sponsors Senators Blas, Ada, and San Agustin, and members of the 36th Guam legislature. My name is Cora Taitino Yanger Beato, and I am the artist and owner of Serena Soul Guam, producing primarily ocean-inspired handmade jewelry and gifts. I am a member of the Guma Familia, and I am testifying in support of Bill number 170-36. As you all know, Guam has many creative and talented local artists and cultural producers, but unfortunately, many lack the resources, the business acumen, and the marketing knowledge necessary to be able to advance their truly Guam-made crafts and produce sustainable products that can compete in a retail environment. Guam Unique Merchandise and Art provides business training and incubator support to Guam's local artists and cultural producers, and continues to provide guidance and even sales opportunities to these talented individuals, even through these difficult times of the pandemic. This includes focused training and guidance in the areas of product development, marketing and branding, retail and merchandising, pricing and finance, legal and business development, copywriting and intellectual property rights, and even e-commerce. As a graduate of the GUMA Entrepreneurial Training and Business Incubation Program, I was able to benefit from grant funds that not only helped me to develop my products, but also develop my business skills and knowledge, and also to expand my business. I started making jewelry out of my home in 2014. In 2015, I joined the GUMA program, and prior to the pandemic, I supported 3 employees consistently for 5 years. Since the pandemic, I have had to pivot and promote my handmade products in several other ways, including through e-commerce, promoting Guam and our beautiful handcrafted pieces throughout the world. I would not have been able to do this without GUMA's guidance and support. I also believe that something important that the pandemic has shown us is that we need to be self-sustainable. While GUMA has been able to secure funding in the past through grants as well as public and private partnerships, to be able to continue to provide this important training and guidance that has benefited so many program participants, and to further perpetuate this into the future, further funding is needed. The program is focused and realistic, and the GUMA Familia is dedicated and committed to ensuring the growth and success of the program participants, which ultimately translates into growth and success for Guam. We humbly ask for your continued support, and I thank you for allowing me to speak today.
Thank you, Cora. Appreciate that. Now we'll have Josephine Smith. Ma'am, you're on.
Hello, half a day and buenas, everyone. I am Josephine Evangelista Smith, small business owner of Guam Events, together with my husband, Gerald Smith, a graduate of GUMA class of 2021 and an incubator applicant. I'm here to support Bill number 170-36. I strongly believe in GUMA's program of not just financing our dreams, but also training us with knowledge and business management from qualified trainers. They present the reality of how business operates, from exploring our creative talents and skills to understanding the business concept, creating a business plan, consulting business professionals, and finally, undergoing the incubator program to hopefully finance our businesses. They don't just blindly grant us the financial resources, but arms us most importantly with the knowledge of business and holds our hand as we go through in the establishment of our business in the real world. In this time of pandemic, I truly appreciate the efforts of GUMA with its dedicated team for doing the best they can to support local artists and cultural entrepreneurs. The events business is one of the hardest hit during these trying times. Regulated gatherings, if not canceled events. GUMA program gave me the idea to pivot my business. I refuse to be crippled by the negative effects of this pandemic, and GUMA helped me to rebrand. Though we had to do it virtually, it still presents its purpose so well. This gives us hope because GUMA believes in our potential to succeed. The funds that will be granted to GUMA will truly help the entrepreneurs on island like myself to cultivate our talents and skills. This will therefore bring us profit and able to uplift the Guam economy, not just through job creation and the taxes we pay, but also the inspiring resilience we resonate to the community. I believe that God will truly prosper the work of our hands. I graduated from the Professional Masters of Business Administration at UOG in 2014. And GUMA's program is the realistic application of what we have learned in graduate school. I hope that with your help, GUMA attains their funding to help the small business entrepreneurs in our community. If GUMA believes in us, I hope you will also do the same. Once again, I'm Josephine Evangelista Smith, a small business owner, curating personalized crafts in the village of Mangilao, testifying my support for Bill number 170-36 to Duos Maas.
Thank you, Josephine. Appreciate that. Oh, another promoter. There you go. All the ladies that have testified are great promoters. We'll ask first question unless Senator Frank would like to wait until the closing, then do his comments and closing. Sir?
I'll do the close. I'll wait until the closing.
Okay, then we ask your co-sponsor, Senator Tony Ada, and then followed by the Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'd like to thank all those that came to testify today. Ms. Guzman, I really don't know what to say, but thank you for everything that you do to encourage people to come out, to open up their businesses, to look into what is it that they can do to put food on their table. I think that when you have stories like this that go behind the program, it just goes to show that the program is very successful. And all we can do is work together to ensure that it stays successful. Because when you can take an individual who's been employed, now turn around and employ people, then we're doing something right. You're doing something right. And I think that when we are giving people that ability, especially in this time now, when PUA is ending and we're going to see people struggling to put food on the table for their families or to pay their power, to pay their water. And if they can come out and take advantage of this program and have a means to have an income, then again, we're doing something right. I look forward for this bill to go up for our session, and you have my full support on it. And that's why I decided to co-sponsor it as well, is because we're giving people a hand up and not a handout, and taking the knowledge that they gain from your program to ensure that they have a livelihood for their families, then I'm all for it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Tony. I'm just surprised that you didn't recognize and thanking Monica for helping Clifford out, but that's okay. We understand. Clifford's on the side there, probably laughing. Madam Speaker, your turn on the mic, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Was Clifford going to testify?
I'm here to provide any supporting information, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you all for your testimony today. Of course, many of you are the evidence of the success of this program, and congratulations to each of you for your courage in entrepreneurship and for helping to lead others as well. I know that many of you are doing that and helping to do that today by support of this program. And of course, to Monica and Clifford and Lorraine and your whole board. Yeah, we have all witnessed the success of your program, and it really fills a niche that it's a worldwide, it was a theory, it's a worldwide really pattern, right? That this is how you help local entrepreneurs. You train them, and you help them get started. And so it's the perfect model, I think, and it's shown its success here on Guam. And I want to personally thank you for the success that you have brought to women, as we see today, that you have brought to artists, our beloved artists who, despite their talents, sometimes cannot make a living. And so I'm so very grateful for that, because it's been really hard for them for years and years, decades. And so many of them have had to give up or, just can't. And so we've been able, I think, through your successes and the artists' successes, to inspire a new generation of artists. And I'm so very grateful for that. I really am. And you've been able to help us promote Guam products. I know that part of your, formula is to get these Guma businesses into the local fairs, right? And promote tourism, promote just our, you know, our culture really. And so I'm in Guam products. I'm very proud of that. I'm very happy for that. So I want to thank you. It's really something that I've been able to live through, you know, the beginning until now, right? And so I know it's a very terrible time right now, and this pivots that they've all described, each of you have described these pivots that you've had to make. It's a good, you know, analogy to what the entire community is having to do. And even as the legislature, it's like, you know, I'm still confused a little bit sometimes about, you know, what is the best use of money right now, right? When we've got people who still need food, we've got people who still need income, and whether, you know, it's, you know, I want to still consider this need in the entire community. But I do agree with supporting small businesses, helping more people to become firm in these small businesses, you know, sustainable, and you know, be able to endure these tough times. So I want to thank you all for your efforts, and of course, this is not a lot of money, I think, compared to maybe some of the grants you've already received too, right? And so I would though ask for like a listing, if you have it, of grants that you've received during the COVID times, or COVID related grants, just so that we can have that in our committee report as well, Mr. Chair. And but I know that they go to very good use, and I've seen many people you know, graduate from these types of programs, and we see them out in the community, and these are our successful small business. So thank you all, and I wish you all the best going forward. Continued courage, continued, you know, fortitude, and continued just, you know, flexibility or patience, you know, and being able to pivot. Sitos Masi. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And yes, Monica, if you can provide us that information for the committee, so we can just put it part of the package, because, you know, you guys do a great job. Senator Tello, you are up on the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and half a day to everyone who came to testify today, and to your stories that you provided us. It is truly inspirational. And of course, what GUMA has done has been inspirational to all of us. I think during last year, 2020, the legislature really focused on assisting small businesses and helping them out. I know the chairman provided legislation to give some incentives for them, tax breaks, to assist small businesses. We are definitely trying to do our very best, you know, and even in these trying times. And to tell you the truth, I mean, with now the Delta variant, I don't think we're going to see any rainbow really at the end for quite some time. And this is when we come to play. This is when this legislature has to step up to the plate now and to assist those small businesses to thrive, to continue, to most especially to educate our community, to assist them in moving forward. I've been a small businesswoman, doing it on my own. It was very difficult. It was, you know, touch and go. I would tumble and fall, but if I knew about GUMA during that time, I would have gone straight there to help me and assist me, so I wouldn't make so many mistakes. And mistakes cost money, you know, money that I could have kept in other people's pocket, my employees' pockets, you know. And Cora, I know that you mentioned those 3 individuals that you've had them work for you for many years, and that is amazing. And that's what all small business is about, you know, to help other families, not just the owner, but the people you employ. You know, you're helping them and their families as well. And I think that's what we're all about. So when it comes to small business, I think Senator Atta actually had a legislation. It became Public Law 47-36. And this bill ensured that GUMA was part of those receiving a grant under GVB, you know, when it comes to, you know, assisting them in their time of need. And I know last year, I'm not sure, but Monica, did you receive any kind of funding last year in 2020?
Thank you for that. We did not receive any funding from the GVB grant, not for 2020.
Okay, how about any funding from GITA in 2020?
In for GITA, we did receive their series, I believe it was series 3 grant, and that was used as the matching for the current ANA grant that we received.
Okay, and how much do you need in order to, really put a good program together? At least provide how many graduates a year that you can, well, not everyone's running down there, but I'm sure you have I don't know if it's a limit of those who are part of the program and how many times throughout the year. So how much funding do you need to sustain what you've had before the pandemic happened?
So it all depends on how many incubator applications we received. This last round, where we had a graduation in June, we had 22 businesses graduate from our training program. And on September 30th, that's the application deadline for incubators. In the past, we have seen businesses ask anywhere from $7,000 up to $40,000. And when they submit their incubator applications, we work closely with them so that to refine their numbers and to give them a more realistic approach to their ask. There's been times when people come in and ask for 120,000, but after sitting with them, we're able to bring it down to way less than that. And like Senator Frank Blas said, it's a hand up. You know, we work with them, we sit down and discuss what exactly is it that you need. We also have some requirements for this funding. You know, they need to hire at least 2 employees, you know, and we follow them for a couple years. Cora was one of our initial incubator applicants, grantees. And, you know, once you're in the Guma family, we stay together. It's like it's one Guma family, you know, and we look forward to getting together every year. The networking that our Guma participants share among each other, you know, is just incredible. And, you know, it's just, you know, as Lorraine, who is our chief trainer, I mean, she teaches the value, the cultural value of respect and inapa maulik. And, you know, that transcends into their business operation, you know, and so, you know, it's not only about Guam-centric businesses, but it's also about incorporating the Chamorro cultural values into our business operation, incorporating sustainability practices into your business operation, and all about building relationships in the business community so that you can continue to succeed. And so these are all hard lessons that I've learned as a business owner. And, you know, we want to be able to share those lessons with all of our incubators and our participants.
So
if I could add, Senator, you know, we are about ready to launch into our very exciting program of home-based businesses. We're going out to the 19 villages with our program, a modified program, to create, you know, to help Tanrita, who makes the empanadas, get her so she's, you know, compliant, to get her, you know, to give her the opportunity to expand her business, or that kid down the road who really wants to mow lawns and just make some money, because they need the money right now. Now's the time when our people need this kind of help. And so our whole family of Guma folks are really, really excited about where this is going. And our pilot program starts this fall. And we're doing it in Dededo of all places. We took on the biggest, but you know, that's the way we roll, right? And so we're really excited about it. And to create all of these home-based business, 417 people said, I got a home-based business. I want to do this because I don't have a job. I need a job. I need to support my family. And so, yeah, so the amount is all dependent on what the need is. Mhm.
Thank
I'd
you
like
so
to
much.
add something to that. Excuse me, Senator.
Monica, so again, how much funding did GUMA be able to bring in 2019?
In 2019, we did receive a CAHA grant, and then we also received the appropriation to pass through from GBB, and then we did receive our DFS contribution. But the DFS contribution over the years has significantly dropped, and we're at and this year and last year was especially challenging for their contribution. We're right now waiting for word on an SBA grant application that we applied for, and with a national organization called National Capacity. And so that's a 3-year program that we hope that we'll hear word from in the next couple months.
And combine the CAHA, the GVB, DFS, how much was that in total that GUMA received?
In 2019, it was probably about $60,000.
Total?
Yes.
And in 2019, you graduate. Okay, so in 2021, you had a training and a graduation of about 22 individuals. How much have you received so far in 2021?
In 2021, we received the GITA grant of $50,000 that was used as the matching funds for our ANA grant.
Which the ANA, so you received an additional 50,000, so a total of 100,000?
No, just that.
Oh, just 50,000, okay.
Yes.
So this amount of 250,000 in the last 2 years, I'm not even going into 2020, is substantially more. 60,000 was 2019. So far you had 50,000 this year, being able to graduate 22 individuals. And 2020, I'll get that information when she provide it to the chairman. Just to find out what funding you have been using every year to cover these grants and these trainings. It's going to be very helpful moving forward. And, you know, Monica, you know me, I'm a realist when it comes to the reality check of everything. And I don't know if you had the opportunity to read, but we have a fiscal note. Basically, it's opinion by the Office of Finance and Budget about this funding. And you know that there's several other legislation and bills that is tapping into this EITC. But one of the things that it said, and I'll just read this one small section, according to Department of Revenue and Taxation, the average ITC for tax year 2014 and 19 amounts to 55.8 million. Historically, this will be the first time the government of Guam will be reimbursed for EITC, and therefore the time frame and the final amount has yet to be determined. If EITC is received in advance, it will proceed to be deposited into a trust fund and used strictly for tax refunds, thus not subject to legislative appropriation. However, if EIT receives a reimbursement instead, then will a funding source be available for the appropriation in this bill? So we're not sure at this point when it's coming. They're still even working on the child tax credit. So it might take a while. So again, like I've told everyone else that they're tapping into this funding, to please don't give up on seeking funding elsewhere. I heard that the governor has given additional funding, almost $30-some million to GITA to provide to small businesses. I don't know if this GUMA would be able to receive any of this, because you're a nonprofit organization. And if there's anything that could be, but you have received funding from GITA in the past, I think. Is that true?
Correct. And thank you for that, Senator. We have been pounding the pavement for the last few years. And, you know, especially since the onset of COVID, we knew that our private sector funding was going to diminish. So we've availed ourselves of every grant opportunity that comes along. We are looking at 2 more grants that we're working on to submit. And yes, we believe in the program so much, and we believe in the talent of our people that continue to pursue funding opportunities. And hopefully that this opportunity will be positive, and that we're hoping that it'll certainly help our incubators. And, you know, like I said earlier, if we do receive this appropriation, it'll go directly to assist our entrepreneurs.
And 2021, you mentioned about the 50,000 so far, and that did come as funding from GITA. Is that correct? You said that earlier, I think.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Even though, I mean, I know there's new money that's going into GITA, and please keep your ears and eyes open. I know you are. You're very good at sniffing out any kind of funding there is to help our community, to help our economy, and to help those who want to sustain themselves. Having a business is not easy. It's 24/7. You're the last to be paid when it comes to getting paid. It's always the owner, the last person to get paid, if at all. You know, you have to basically suck it up sometimes. It's very difficult to be a business owner, and I greatly appreciate what you're doing for our people. But the reality is, this funding may not be available for quite some time, and I ask and encourage you to continue to seek funding in other areas. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity, and thank you, Monica, and everyone who testified this afternoon, and your inspirational stories as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Senator Tello. Senator Joanne Brown, do you have anything you'd like to offer to the committee or to the folks that testified?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I certainly appreciate all the participants in the hearing this afternoon testifying on this bill, and certainly appreciate the purpose and the work that has already been done, a lot of the groundwork that has been done by Ms. Monica Guzman and her group in putting this program together. The only thing I would add, Mr. Chair, that I would like to see added to the bill, and again, I mean, you know, I know earlier Senator Blas had mentioned that these are not unique appropriations. I mean, this used to be the standard back in the day. But just to ensure, because we are using public funds, and I don't doubt that Ms. Guzman and her group will continue to always be responsible. But because we are using public funds, I just want to have more language added to the last section of the bill, section 2 on page 3, where it goes on to say that the funding is being used, being appropriated to GUMA for the purpose of helping to incubate graduates of their business program with the startup support through a competitive process. I just want to have that section of the bill, if that can be strengthened and elaborated on, so that specifically we know what the funds of the people are being used for. But definitely this is a program. I had the opportunity to meet with Mrs. Guzman earlier this year to talk about the work that she's doing and the outreach, and certainly the benefits that are happening in our community. To give our local entrepreneurs a vehicle to be able to take their ideas and implement them, and actually be able to take this creativeness and have it be a means of earning revenue and contributing to our economy and to our community. So with that, I'm very appreciative. But I just very much would like to see the specifics added to the bill to strengthen it, and certainly to ensure accountability to the public with regards to the expenditure of public funds. And with that, Mr. Chair, thank you so much for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Senator Brown. And yes, I will work with Senator Blas, and we will put some strength, some good verbiage there to strengthen the bill. Senator Blas, you're close.
Mr. Chair, I think that Ms. Monica Guzman she wanted to acknowledge somebody. So I want to give her that opportunity to be able to do that.
Thank you, Senator Blas, and thank you, everyone. As you know, we've been at this for a long time, and you know, the GUMA is not a one-man operation. It's a group effort. It's a family effort. And I just like to acknowledge our GUMA board member, Dr. Judy Flores. Dr. Judy, thank you for being here this afternoon in support of this bill. And then I just also like to acknowledge apologies from our board chair who submitted testimony, but was unable to be here. But I just want to make sure that Dr. Judy Flores is recognized, a GUMA board member. Thank you. And thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. Senator Blas.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my colleagues for the questions. I agree, Senator Brown as well, and I work with you, Mr. Chair, on being able to provide the language to provide that accountability. I have no doubt that with regards to the performance measurements and the accountability, that GUMA will be able to provide that so that we can account for the monies that is being provided. So I have no problem with that. One of the things, Mr. Chair, as we heard in today's testimony, okay, we're talking about elegantly crafted Chamorro influenced jewelry. We're talking about a 3D puzzle of a galidi. I don't know if you've ever tried chicken flavored tofu kelaguen. Monica turned me on to that down at the on in Menaguf. There's an ubi flavored guzuria, or bottled Chamorro marinade. That's what we're putting together. That's part of what GUMA and the excitement that this program has, not just to showcase what we can do or what we have, to our island residents, but to the world. And this is a program that gives those individuals with those ideas that hand up, that hand in being able to take their passion, their knowledge, their crafts, their arts, and to showcase it to the world. And this provides the funding to be able to assist them in being able to do this. Is more funding, could more funding be appreciated? I'm sure. But I think that, with the $250,000 that we can be able to provide in this piece of legislation will go tremendously, a long ways to be able to help this organization, as well as the many people, the many entrepreneurs. As Cliff had mentioned earlier, they're going to be launching a village program, going into the 19 villages, over 417, if I remember correctly, applicants in those areas. People are striving, people are yearning for the ability to be able to go out on their own. Many years ago, before the advent of big box stores and retail stores, you were sent down the street to Tanana so you can go buy the gooseria or to the other village so that you can get the best tasting butsi. That's the kind of you're going to be able to provide with this kind of a project and more, because then that next village is the next island over and the next country over. This gives us that opportunity to be able to provide those people with that ability to be able to showcase that kind of talent. So once again, Mr. Chair, I want to thank you very much. I want to thank my colleagues for also contributing to a very fruitful conversation, and a conversation that I know that would result in a bill that I'm sure will be able to garner enough support on the legislative floor. With regards to the funding, I have to agree. Right now in tight money things, I was encouraged by Senator Tello. Let's not stop here, and this is our way of being able to help. We'll continue to push for it. I believe that that funding will be there so that we can help these people. But we've got to do our part too. So again, Mr. Chair, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you for the opportunity to have this bill heard. I'll work with you on being able to put a strong language that will help to satisfy some of the concerns that was expressed, brought up in this hearing. And once again, Monica, Cliff, and to the rest of the gang, Ms. Lorraine, thank you also for your testimonies. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Senator Blas. There being no additional individuals to present further testimony on this bill, the committee will continue to receive testimony for the next few days. Please submit your testimony to the mailroom of the Guam Legislature or in the Guam Congress Building or through email at Senator joesanaugustin@gmail.com. Again, I want to thank everyone for attending the public hearing and for providing feedback and suggestion on Bill 170-36. I'd like to also thank the AV folks and the MIS folks for giving us all the support throughout the whole day. This virtual public hearing is now adjourned on Bill 170-36. The time now is 4:44. Sijus Masi. Stay safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, and practice social distancing. Please be safe. Take care.